Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Township Committee meeting of July the 13th, 2021. Ms. Bork, will you please call the roll?
Committeewoman Erickson.
Here.
Committeeman Thompson.
Here.
Committeeman Wright.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Delcor.
Here.
Mayor Lapani. Administrator Ferreira. Attorney Willard.
Here.
Thank you.
Please join me in a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Lapani had a family emergency this evening, so was unable to attend. So unfortunately, you guys are stuck with me tonight. Please be advised that in accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, that notice of this meeting was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the Township Municipal Complex and notifying the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex at 7:30 p.m. on July the 13th of 2021. First up, we have approval of minutes. The first minutes are the June 15th, 2021 regular session minutes. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved, Mayor.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson.
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes.
Mayor Wright.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delcor.
Yes. And we also have the June 22nd, 2021 regular session minutes. May I have a motion to approve the June 22nd, 2021 meeting minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson.
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes.
Committeeman Wright.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delcor.
Yes. And
Unless,
can we reflect the record that
Yeah.
Attorney Bernstein has joined us? Thank you. Okay, we'll move to reports from committee liaisons. So first up, Committeewoman Erickson.
thank you, Deputy Mayor. First, let me say, it's so nice to see so many faces in our room tonight. This has been a long time coming, and there's nothing makes me happier to have my kind of first meeting with all these great people from town here. So welcome, everybody. It's great to have you here tonight. So without any further ado, some reports from the departments within the township. We have from the building department. There's just a reminder, the Hillsborough Building Department is commonly asked, do I need a certificate of occupancy for the resale of a residential property? And the answer is no. The Hillsborough Building Department does not issue a CO for the resale of a residential property. However, you must call the Fire Safety Department at extension 7178 to schedule a smoke detector certification inspection. From the Engineering Department would like to update the Hillsborough Township Committee and the public about the status of the PSE&G gas projects and pavement restoration. All gas repairs and paving have been completed in the Meadowbrook Drive area, Lynn Court, South Triangle Road, and part of Triangle Road. Minor ponding areas and striping will be addressed no later than the week of July 19th. The balance of Triangle, New Amwell, and Champlain roads are on hold because of gas tie-in pipe work by PSE&G, which has either just recently been completed or still underway. It was agreed between PSE&G and the Township's Engineering Department that after deep cuts in the roadway, repaving needs to wait at least 30 days for possible settlement. This is still ongoing work. There's still ongoing work along Route 206, including a pipe crossing under the highway. The crossing should be a boring under the pavement so as to not require a full road closure, only shoulder work. PSE&G informed the Engineering Department that all work should be completed no later than the end of September. HEA Pride helps Hillsborough can. On June 14th, members of the Hillsborough Education Association Pride Committee made a donation to our local food bank, Hillsborough Township Community Assisted Network, which is also known as CAN. HEA Pride programs address a variety of issues and topics that affect students and the community while building community involvement. The can lends a helping hand to residents in need of temporary food assistance. The donation was funded through a New Jersey Education Association Pride grant. HEA Pride supports the local food bank with donations several times a year. So thank you to them. Hillsborough Unico donates over 160 pounds of pasta in my Italian household. That would be probably one good meal. To Can Food Bank. The Hillsborough chapter of Unico National made a contribution of pasta to the Hillsborough Township Community Assistance Network Food Bank through their Pound of Pasta project. The chapter plans to collect 1,000 pounds of pasta each year to give to the food pantry. The group donated this year's contribution in honor of Andrew Pantano, a charter member of Hillsborough chapter. The Unico motto is service above self, and Andrew exemplified this in all he did for the Hillsborough community. I know Mr. Pantano is sorely missed in his business, so very nice. Recreation, the 2020 Parks and Recreation Summer Activities Guide is available now, and registration is currently underway. We offer programs for a wide variety of age groups, from toddlers to adults. Some programs to take a look at for 5th through 8th graders include our new volleyball clinics, as well as ultimate frisbee. Both programs are run by Jack Casey, Autumn Road physical education teacher and Hillsborough High School volleyball coach. We also have yoga in the park for adults in Ann Van Middlesworth Park and virtual cooking classes for children in grades K through 6. Backed by popular demand is our family campout and fishing derby on August 6th. The campout includes dinner, snacks, games, a movie under the stars, camping in the park, and breakfast the next morning. Our fishing derby is a separate fee from the campout and is open to anyone aged 14 and under. You do not need to go to the campout to take part in fishing derby. These programs are more are open for registration on our website at hillsboroughNJRecreation.org. The township will host the annual Purple Heart ceremony on Saturday, August 7th at 9 a.m. here at the Garden of Honor. All residents are invited to attend this brief program as we honor our Purple Heart recipients. And last, from the Business Advocate, the New Jersey Department of Transportation's Tourist-Oriented Directional Signs Program, also known as TODS, is now accepting applications for the recently opened 206 Bypass Peter J. Biondi Bypass. The TODS program directs motorists to businesses and activities which draw a major portion of their visitors or income from outside the immediate area of business or activity. If you would like to participate in the program, either for Route 206 Bypass or Route 206, contact New Jersey Logos LLC for information. New Jersey Logos LLC will review at the application to determine eligibility. New Jersey Logos LLC can provide design assistance free of charge and will construct and maintain eligible signs. You can also learn more by visiting hillsboroughbusiness.org or contacting the Office of Hillsborough Business Advocate directly. That's it.
Sure.
Nice and short.
Committeeman Thompson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A couple things from me this evening. First, from our police department. Each year, the Hillsborough Township Police Department selects top cops from each patrol squad to be recognized for their exceptional performance from the previous year. The award recipients are determined based on a score devised from the annual job performance evaluations, along with ranking achieved from their respective supervisors and peers. Patrolman Philip Wolf and Patrolman Brian Gorka are recognized for the highest rank of each of the two patrol squads. Top cops are formally recognized by the department, the mayor, the township committee, and receive an acknowledgement in their personnel file. In addition, officers Wolf and Gorka will have their names engraved on a plaque displayed in the lobby of the police headquarters, honoring each year's recipients since the program's inception in 1996. In addition, they will be awarded a merit bar that is worn above their uniform badge. Congratulations to both for their outstanding work from the Hillsborough Township Police Department. From the Health Department has plans in the works for future COVID-19 vaccination clinics. Please stay tuned to the Mayor's e-news and the Hillsborough Township website and Facebook page for information regarding these clinics. The Health Department welcomes collaboration with industries, businesses, and multiple dwellings complexes here in Hillsborough that would like to offer COVID-19 vaccination clinics. You can please contact them at the Health Department at 908-369-5652. Also, a reminder from the Hillsborough Health Department, they have free to radon kits available for township residents. You stop by the health office at the municipal building to pick up those radon kits. From the Finance Department, the third quarter tax bills are due on August 1st, and they've been mailed. If you have not received your bill, please contact the tax collector's office at 908-369-8672. And if you have a question relating to the taxes billed because of an increase in your assessed value, please contact the tax assessor's office at 908-369-8077. And from the tax assessor's office, just a reminder that farmland applications, along with any required supporting documentation, needs to be submitted to the assessor's office no later than the state deadline of Monday, August 2nd. The paperwork must be filed for property to continue to be designated as qualified farmland. And last, from our Municipal Alliance. The Municipal Alliance participated in a site visit with the county, which was held virtually on July 8th. The annual site visit is required of the grant and is an opportunity for the county to review all the requirements of the grant with the executive committee. Some of the requirements include hosting public meetings on a monthly basis, having all sectors of the community represented, accurate and timely financial reporting, program evaluations, and attendance at county trainings. The Municipal Alliance had to adjust the original plan due to substantial reduction in funding from the county, as well as changes necessary due to the COVID restrictions. Somerset County Alliance Coordinator gave the Hillsborough Millstone Municipal Alliance a good report and stated there are no follow-ups needed. The Municipal Alliance looks forward to another successful year working to raise awareness and educate the community on all facets of the community and alcohol and drug addiction. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Committeeman Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Mayor Frank. Little tongue twister. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start with the Public Works. After an excellent Family Fun Day, the Public Works Department is primarily focused on the roads and repair and maintenance. So please be mindful of your travel when you see them working on the roads, just for their safety as well as yours. There's still some available dates for the annual cleanup program, dropping off brush and bulk items. Also, grass drop-off program is available to all residents from 11 to 3 on the third Friday of each month. Now, for Somerset County, beginning July 1st until September 30th, residents can apply with the Somerset County Office of Aging and Disability Services to receive $30 worth of farmers market vouchers for purchase of locally grown fresh fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Eligible relatives can use these vouchers at participating Somerset County farmers markets until November 30th, 2021. Vouchers will be distributed to eligible residents on a first-come, first-served basis. Now, also with the county, we have help guard against identity theft by bringing your personal documents to the Operation Secure Shred. Residents can take advantage of a free, easy, and secure way to get rid of personal documents on Saturday, July 17th at Somerset County Public Works Garage. That's the North County facility. That's located at 411 Chimney Rock Road, Bridgewater, New Jersey, 08807. That's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. or until the truck gets filled to capacity. This event will take place rain or shine. Now, residents should be prepared to unload their own items. Staff is available to assist if necessary. Residents must also prepare to present a current driver's license, valid lease, tax bill, or any other bill showing proof of a Somerset County address. Pre-registration is not required for this. Business and commercial vehicles are not allowed. Now, participants can bring up to 6 boxes, containers, bags of documents per visit, but they will be required to take their receptacles back home. Staples, paper clips do not have to be removed. Junk mail, magazines, newspapers, none of that will be accepted. Now, for more information about Operation Secure Shred, contact the Somerset County Public Works Department at 908-203-6018, or you can email the Public Works at co.somerset.nj.us. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Committeeman. On behalf of Mayor Lapani and the entire Township Committee, I'd like to thank all of the residents and family and friends that attended our 250th anniversary celebration and Family Fun Day Independence celebration with fireworks that occurred on June the 26th. We had an incredible turnout. It seemed like the entire town turned out for what was a really historic time here in Hillsborough, our 250th anniversary, but also I think once again, the opportunity to finally have a mass celebration after the last year and a half, I think really brought people out. So thank you for everyone that came out. I know it was a tremendous day, tremendous event, and glad that everyone could come out and participate. I do want to recognize a couple of comments from some of our departments that were participating in that event that day. The Township Building Department would especially like to thank residents, local contractors, and friends for their participation and support of our Family Fun Day. They hope the experience was as fun for you all as it was for them. They especially enjoyed watching all the kids who enjoyed the building department's math trivia wheel and all of the prizes that were generated as a result of the spin. So look forward to future engagements with the Hillsborough residents. In addition, the DPW would also like to thank the residents who stopped by the DPW booth at the fireworks and left sporting the famous green cape and mask of our Captain Cleanup. They too enjoyed meeting you and hearing about your interest in joining many of our cleanup events that we have throughout the year. And from the clerks, engineering, assessor, collector, and business advocate, all of the different township departments would like to thank you, the residents, for making our 250th anniversary celebration such a rousing success. Thank you all for participating and making it the great event that it was. We've talked in the past about the Wyland Water Challenge results, and the results are in. It's the 10th annual National Mayor's Campaign for Water Conservation, and Hillsborough Township entered the competition for the third year in a row and finished first in New Jersey and 37th out of hundreds of other towns and cities across the U.S. that have a population between 30,000 and 99,999. So really incredible effort by our residents here. The campaign encouraged residents to make a series of pledges to use water more efficiently, reduce pollution, and save energy. And we've maintained our standing of our first place in New Jersey since 2019. So thank you to all the residents who took the pledge and once again proved that the great people of Hillsborough, that we continue to make it one of the best places to live. And a thank you to our township employees and the business community who came together to promote the pledge drive for the challenge. Each year we do a township calendar. We're beginning to work on the 2022 color printed calendar, and we're pleased to work with our town planner to produce it. As a reminder, as always, the cost of the calendar comes at no cost to taxpayers. It's funded through the advertisements contained within the calendar. We generally mail them out in December, and it would include schedules, community event reminders, important dates, and phone numbers that may be needed for the coming year. And as with previous calendars, it will feature photographs of Hillsborough's landscape and scenery that are submitted by our local residents. So anyone that's interested in submitting photographs for consideration for the 2022 calendar can email their high-resolution image along with a photo release form to the township clerk at pborak@hillsborough-nj.org. The photo release form can be found on the township website. And the calendar does have limited spaces for photographs, so there is no guarantee that everyone submitted will be used. If you're interested in advertising in the calendar, the advertising opportunities are also available and are being handled directly through our town planner. And for more information regarding advertising, you can contact Jim O'Dowd at 973-650-2736 or Jim O'Dowd at townplanner.com. We have another one of our great events that's coming back this year. That's the Hillsborough Rotary Fair. Is going to return on August the 17th. After a year hiatus due to COVID-19, the Rotary Fair and Business Expo will once again transform the promenade into a classic carnival with amusement rides, games of chance, fireworks, food vendors, and exposition of local businesses. It'll run for 5 days beginning on Tuesday, August the 17th, and the hours will be 6 to 10 on Tuesday through Thursday and 6 to 11 on Friday to Saturday. And in addition to the rides, vendors, games of chance, and businesses, there will be a fireworks display by Interstate Fireworks, and that's sponsored by Petrox Bar and Grill and Petrox Liquors, and that will light up the Hillsborough skies. That's going to be on Friday, the 20th at approximately 10 p.m. We'll have a rain date that will be held on Saturday, the 21st, if we can't do it on Friday. So looking forward to seeing everyone at our at the Rotary Fair. As always, you can stay connected with all these events and others via the Township newsletter that comes out on Wednesdays, and you can be sure to follow and like the official Hillsborough Township Facebook page and Twitter account. TV 29 and the Hillsborough YouTube channel showcase our meetings, and Hillsborough The Good Life episodes and Hillsborough Alerts for traffic and emergency notifications. So with that, we're going to move on to the next area on our agenda, which is proclamations. We do have a number of proclamations and a presentation tonight. I will call up each recipient one at a time. After receiving your recognition and posing for a picture, we ask that you please return to your seat. Once we have done all the presentations and recognitions, we'll take a quick break. Anyone that would like to leave at that point can leave, but we ask that you please remain in your seats until we get through all of the presentations in respect of everyone that's being recognized this evening. So I'm going to come down off the dais down there, and we'll call up our first recipient. Have Jack Macias come up. There he is. So Jack Macias, a Hillsborough High School junior and a member of Boy Scout Troop 1776, has earned the rank of Eagle Scout. His Eagle Scout project consisted of leading scouts in removing 3 feet of small vegetation from around Otto's Farm Park Trail blazes, screwing the blazes on trees and respray painting trail blazes. The project made the park a more popular place for hikers that wish to use an easier hiking trail. The project took a total of 109 hours to complete with the aid of 38 workers. Jack has served as a bugler, ASPL programming, troop guide, then chief, patrol leader, and Order of the Arrow representative. He's a nationally ranked Olympic weightlifting competitor and a member of the HHS robotics team. He's an active member of St. Joseph Church Youth Group and has volunteered at St. Joseph's Catholic Heart Work Camp. Jack serves as an example to the youth of Hillsborough Township through his high level of leadership and community service, and we are very proud that he's a member of our community. So now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby recognize and extend our sincere congratulations to Jack Macias for having achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, an honor for both him and for those who have guided him, with best wishes for a bright future. Jack, congratulations.
I'd like to thank the committee for giving me this award, and it was an honor to complete my Eagle Scout project through the Hillsborough Parks and Rec Department. And special thank you to John Crossan for assisting me in completing that project. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay. Tina Androulakis. Okay, there we go. All right. Tina Androulakis, an assistant literary specialist, literacy specialist at the Aughton Road Intermediate School, has the honor of being named as Aughton Road Intermediate School's Governor's Educator of the Year for 2021. Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Middle school. I apologize. Because of her dedication and service to the Hillsborough School District. She has been a member of the Hillsborough School District faculty since 2010. She assists literacy specialists in the 7th and 8th grade Read 180 programs, an intensive reading and writing intervention program designed to meet the needs of students whose reading achievement is below the proficient level. She was also a volunteer of the middle school AED response team for 4 years. She's the St. Joseph's chairperson for Interfaith Hospitality Network, which provides food and shelter for homeless individuals and families in Somerset County. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, further commend Tina for being recognized as the middle school's Governor's Educator of the Year, and we thank her for all her hard work and dedication to Hillsborough's youth. Congratulations.
It was an honor to be recognized for this achievement. Is especially significant since it was during the pandemic, which was challenging time for all of us, students, parents, teachers. Thank you to the mayor and the township committee, as well as the HMS staff and administrators. Finally, thank you to my family for all their love and support.
Can I have Sarah Davenport come on up? So I'm sure we have a big crowd here tonight. For those of you that don't know, not only is she an amazing pitcher, but her dad is one of our great township employees. So we feel an extra sense of pride today. So Hillsborough High School softball team pitcher Sarah Davenport has been named the Courier News Player of the Year. As a high school sophomore, she had 13 shutout games and 4 no-hitters, with 2 of them being perfect games. She is a New Jersey state leader in strikeouts with 326, and she was also named to the Skyland Division All-Division First Team. In her first season with the Hillsborough High School varsity team, she yielded a 21-3 record and a 0.3 ERA. That's pretty good. That's DeGrom-esque. That's pretty good. Sarah volunteers as a teacher at the South Branch Reformed Church, Sunday School, and Youth Group. So, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby congratulate you, Sarah, for your extraordinary accomplishments on the softball field, and we're very proud that you're a member of our community. Congratulations.
I'd like to thank the Township Committee and the mayor for this award. It's an honor. I want to thank my coaches on the high school team and my travel team and all the girls on both teams, because I wouldn't be able to do it without all of them. I want to thank my pitching coach too, Chrissy Yard, and my parents, because they really pushed me to get where I am today. So, thank you.
Oh, wait, hold on. We're not done yet. Can I have the entire softball team come on up? Okay, there's 2 sides. Thanks. So I got to tell you, we almost go through this every year because the softball teams that we have here in Hillsborough are just incredible year after year. But the 2021 Hillsborough High School team, they had an incredibly successful season. They were Central Jersey Group 4 sectional state champions, the Skyline Conference Delaware East champions, and the Group 4 finalist and runner-up. And the team season record was 21-3. The softball team consisted of the following young athletes, and I'm going to ask you guys to just say your name.
Sierra Scala, Danelle Salaji, Cleo Venice, Grace Bernhard, Olivia Bernhard, Katie Rigel, Sarah Davenport, Alexa Chess, Claire Murphy, Claire Marcinic, Christina Saka,
Victoria Fantozzi,
Josie Marcinic, Grace McHugh,
Grace Brulard,
Sophia Nomofsky.
We'll get to you. You didn't forget about that. The team was led by head coach Cheryl Iannone, assistant coaches Brian Wader, Liliana Torres, Dave King, and Justin Balancet. So now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby commend the Hillsborough High School softball team, their coaches and parents, not only for their very successful season, but for their hard work, dedication, and their commitment to the sport and their incredible representation that you provide on behalf of Hillsborough. So thank you very much and congratulations on a great season.
Well, you already know about my pitcher, right? So, but the rest of the team here, they're amazing. They were amazing. It was a great season. I can't say enough about them. I keep bragging to everybody, and I will continue to do that because they were amazing on and off the field. And I really also want to thank all the people sitting back there who supported us throughout the year for at the games, and it really made our lives a lot easier and a lot of fun. So congratulations, girls, and thank you to the Township Committee and Mayor for bestowing this honor upon us.
And then I'll get out of the way, and your parents, all your fans.
Oh, somebody's got it. That's old school.
All right, I'm going to ask you all to stay up here for one more second because we got one more we got to do. All right, you might want to get that to somebody else. So, we had a great season. We recognized the team, we recognized the player of the year, and we also get to recognize the coach of the year. So, Hillsborough High School softball and volleyball head coach Cheryl Iannone has been named the Courier News Coach of the Year for softball. She has led the high school softball team for 25 seasons and the volleyball team for 10. As a result of the pandemic, the volleyball and softball seasons overlapped, and the coach was faced with a logistical challenge in which, as a result of her creativity, she was able to coach both teams simultaneously in the high school gym. The softball team, with returning just 2 starters and 3-letter winners and much uncertainty under the pandemic protocols, but she relied upon her strong senior leadership, led by Katie Rigel, Sierra Scala, and breakout player, as we noted, Sarah Davenport. The volleyball team season ended in the quarterfinals, and the softball team attained the Skyland Division, Delaware Division title and the Group 4 sectional championship. Her career run includes 11 conference titles, 7 county championships, and 3 state sectional crowns. So now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby recognize Cheryl Iannone for her exceptional coaching this past season and throughout her successful coaching career. We thank her for her dedication and support towards our athletic community and teaching our youth here in Hillsborough. Coach, congratulations not only on the season, but on a great career.
All I could say is that coaches get awards, but if it weren't for these guys standing here and my excellent coaching staff, then none of this is possible. So thank you all. Again, I appreciate it. Thank you to the committee and the mayor as well.
Oh, we got one, okay. We want to make sure. All right. We get one picture?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get one. Oh, my pleasure. Oh, great. Do Louis Payton?
Yes.
Can I have Navleen Bapari? So, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, here it is. Yes, that's yours. I'm going to give this to you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take this. So Navleen is the Lewis Bay Scholarship winner. Every year, Hillsborough Township takes part in the League of Municipalities Lewis Bay Future Municipal Leader Scholarship Program. The theme for 2021 was, how has local government played a part in your life regarding the ongoing pandemic? And it's my pleasure to announce that Hillsborough High School graduate Navleen Bapari has been selected as one of the 3 statewide winners for the Lewis Bay Scholarship. Congratulations and best of luck in the future. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for presenting me with this scholarship. I'm really humbled to have received this award. As you mentioned, the topic of this year's scholarship was how has the local government played a crucial role in my life this year. So I guess I really should thank everyone part of the Township Committee for playing not only a crucial part in my life, but in everyone else's in the community. Thank you.
Do we have representatives from the Adams R Sears?
Good evening. My name is Andrew Walters. I'm the president of Adams R Sears. We are a model aviation club based here in Hillsborough. We are chartered by the American Model Aircraft Association. We hold our annual swap meet here in the multipurpose room. If you haven't been through before, come take a look. Unfortunately, the past year we haven't been able to. Due to COVID-19. The previous year, we got it in just before the whole world shut down. But normally, as part of the proceeds that we collect during our swap meets, we take a portion of that and donate it back to the community. We donated to the Community Action Network, the food bank here in Hillsborough. So we would like to present both our donation for 2020 as well as the additional donation for 2021, as well as an additional amount from the members of our club. So a grand total of $850 that we would like to donate to the community.
So, as noted, every year, the Adams R Sears, they've been a great community partner with the township, constantly providing support, in particular to our community assistance network. Some of you may know it as the food bank, but it's they constantly are willing to give back, and it's a pleasure to have the group come up and join us and receive these funds in support of our needy people here in Hillsborough. So thank you very much for your contributions, and keep up the great work. Thank you. Wow, it was amazing, amazing. It was really cool. You can come out to our Yeah. Okay, we have one last presentation to do tonight. As you see here on the dais, we have a number of dioramas. So in April, we announced a diorama contest to commemorate Hillsborough Township's 250th anniversary. We invited residents, business owners, clubs, and organizations to create artistic displays depicting what Hillsborough means to them. The dioramas have been on display here at the municipal building for the residents to enjoy, and today we are pleased to announce the winners. We're awarding the following certificates of participation. With time in mind, we're only awarding certificates of participation to those entrants who are here today. These certificates are to honor those who created impressive displays but are not taking home a ribbon. When I call your name, can you please come up, select your diorama, and come to the front for a picture. Jasmine Blake. Manali Bike. Vanessa Lamada. And Sydney McPartland. Why don't you guys all come to the front? Okay, now for the ribbon for each category. For youth 12 and under, in third place, Mountain View Park by Aditi Srivatsan. Don't know if Aditi's here. Okay. In second place, we have the Somerset County Bookmobile circa 1947 by Vedant Kumar. In first place, Duke Farms Community Garden by Zulaka Lopez Quezada. Okay, in the youth 13 to 17-year-old category, in third place, we have My First Snow Day by Samvi Gandhi. Yeah, just take pictures. In second place, we have Ammerman Mill by Ridvik Ratahali. And in first place, we have the Sourland Mountain circa 1771 by Aditya Kavala. Okay, in the youth group, in third place, we have the oldest 4-H club in Somerset County by New Center Dairy 4-H Club. Okay. In second place, we have the Hillsborough Eagles first Eagle Scout ceremony in 1962 by Boy Scout Troop 189. 89. Okay, and in first place, Duke Farms by Oliver Mata. Okay, and the last group is our business group. Okay. Okay.
Never had this problem with Sarah was here.
She might cut you, man.
Okay. She hasn't before.
Okay, so just to clarify real quick. So Oliver was a first place member in the adult group. The first place for the youth group was the Hillsborough Boy Scout Troop 186, Washington marching through Hillsborough. Congratulations. Okay, and we do have one last category, which was the business category. And first place goes to Rock Steady Boxing. And we have one other in the business category. Right? Or we're going to do this one first. And the other one is the Mayor's Choice Award. No, that one second. Last award. It's the Mayor's Choice Award which is the grand prize winner, and that goes to Doyle's Unami Farm by Lindsay Doyle. So thank you for your patience with that, but also thank you to everyone who participated in this really fun and creative event, helping make our 250th anniversary really a great event and have a nice way to commemorate some of the history here in town. We do have a commemorative gift bag for all the participants that's on the back table. So please make sure you take yours on the way out. If you want to leave, if you want to stay, by all means, we'd love to have you continue on, but we know it's getting late. So this does conclude our proclamations and presentation section. So as promised, we will take a quick break. But congratulations to all of our recipients. And I know Mayor Lapani sends his congratulations as well tonight. So we're going to take a brief pause. Congratulations to all our recipients.
Hillsborough, New Jersey, celebrating 250 years of a rich history.
Hi, I'm Mayor Sean Lapani, and I'm proud to showcase Hillsborough, one of the best places to live in America.
From the preserved farms that help feed the world, to the Vanderveer House, to the John R. Stott's house, restored and currently utilized for business, to the magnificent and world-famous Duke Farms,
where you can walk or ride a bike through their historic grounds, to the iconic Neshannock Reformed Church, and just down the road is our fabulous Neshannock Mill, located right on the picturesque Raritan River.
You're invited to visit Hillsborough, a great place to live, work, play, and do business anytime. And experience over 250 years of proud history in Hillsborough, New Jersey. Hillsborough, New Jersey, celebrating 250 years of a rich history.
Hi, I'm Mayor Sean Lapani, and I'm proud to showcase Hillsborough, one of the best places to live in America.
From the preserved farms that help feed the world, to the Vanderveer House, to the John R. Stott's house, restored and currently utilized for business, to the magnificent and world-famous Duke Farms,
where you can walk or ride a bike through their historic grounds, to the iconic Neshannock Reformed Church, and just down the road is our fabulous Neshannock Mill, located right on the picturesque Raritan River.
You're invited to visit Hillsborough, a great place to live, work, play, and do business anytime. And experience over 250 years of proud history in Hillsborough, New Jersey. Hillsborough, New Jersey, celebrating 250 years of a rich history.
Hi, I'm Mayor Sean Lapani, and I'm proud to showcase Hillsborough, one of the best places to live in America.
From preserved farms that help feed the world, to the Vanderveer House, to the John R. Stott's house, restored and currently utilized for business, to the magnificent and world-famous Duke Farms,
where you can walk or ride a bike through their historic grounds, to the iconic Neshannock Reformed Church, and just down the road is our fabulous Neshannock Mill located right on the picturesque Raritan River.
You're invited to visit Hillsborough, a great place to live, work, play, and do business anytime, and experience over 250 years of proud history in Hillsborough, New Jersey. Hillsborough, New Jersey, celebrating 250 years of a rich history.
Hi, I'm Mayor Sean Lapani, and I'm proud to showcase Hillsborough, one of the best places to live in America.
From preserved farms that help feed the world, to the Vanderveer House, to the John R. Stott's house, restored and currently utilized for business, to the magnificent and world-famous Duke Farms,
where you can walk or ride a bike through their historic grounds, to the iconic Neshannock Reformed Church, and just down the road is our fabulous Neshannock Mill located right on the picturesque Raritan River.
You're invited to visit Hillsborough, a great place to live, work, play, and do business anytime, and experience over 250 years of proud history in Hillsborough, New Jersey. Hillsborough, New Jersey, celebrating 250 years of a rich history.
Hi, I'm Mayor Sean Lapani, and I'm proud to showcase Hillsborough, one of the best places to live in America.
From preserved farms that help feed the world, to the Vanderveer House, to the John R. Stott's house, restored and currently utilized for business, to the magnificent and world-famous Duke Farms,
where you can walk or ride a bike through their historic grounds, to the iconic Neshannock Reformed Church, and just down the road is our fabulous Neshannock Mill located right on the picturesque Raritan River.
You're invited to visit Hillsborough, a great place to live, work, play, and do business anytime, and experience over 250 years of proud history in Hillsborough, New Jersey. Hillsborough, New Jersey, celebrating 250 years of a rich history.
Hi, I'm Mayor Sean Lapani, and I'm proud to showcase Hillsborough, one of the best places to live in America.
From preserved farms that help feed the world, to the Vanderveer House, to the John R. Stott's house, restored and currently utilized for business, to the magnificent and world-famous Duke Farms,
where you can walk or ride a bike through their historic grounds, to the iconic Neshannock Reformed Church, and just down the road is our fabulous Neshannock Mill located right on the picturesque Raritan River.
You're invited to visit Hillsborough, a great place to live, work, play, and do business anytime, and experience over 250 years of proud history in Hillsborough, New Jersey.
Okay, again, congratulations to all of our recipients this evening, and we're going to continue on with our agenda. We have no new business tonight, so we're going to move on to public comment on new business and matters that are not on the agenda. So if anyone has a comment on a matter that's not on tonight's agenda, now it's time, please come forward. We'll start over to the right here.
Hi, Susan Gulliford. Do you need the correct spelling of my last name? Okay. When Hillsborough signs a contract for services under an RFP, the company that we hire represents us. And we should expect that the corporations that we hire handle their jobs in a way that reflects in a positive manner on Hillsborough. Not just the mechanics of the job, but the way the job is carried out. And recently, it appears that we are having some problems with our animal control contract with Animal Control Solutions, which may not represent the town very well with what happened. Recently, a Hillsborough resident reached out on Facebook, and the reason she went to Facebook because she needed assistance with an aggressive and possibly ill feral stray cat problem at her home out near Clover Hill. She'd made multiple attempts to get help, including ACS, the company that handles Hillsborough's animal control requirements. ACS checked around, refused to take him, said, "You already fed him, and it's your problem now, and we don't want to be responsible for vet bills." After the original post, comments flooded in, not only in public, there were over 100 for anyone that was following this. I also received private messages and people that approached me in public for some reason. And I got comments, they more than implied that I was lying and just trying to dump my own cat. I got that from 2 different people. That's not exactly something you want one of the people representing your township to say to a resident. Animal Control Solutions doesn't scan for a microchip. And somebody pointed out, what if it was a lost animal? You know, your dog or mine. And you'd think an animal control service would automatically have the little scanner thing with them to see if they're chipped or not. But I heard that from 2 different people. They do loan out traps with a deposit. I understand that. They want to get their equipment back, and you're signing that you're going to return the equipment in good shape. Then I found out from 2 different people that the deposit to borrow the little have-a-heart trap is $125, $175. I'm sorry, I have a correction on that. $175 is a lot of money for a lot of us. And it's a lot more than I would expect for the return of a trap. And also, let's say it catches a raccoon and it damages the trap. We've got a resident that's out $175 for a trap. And I looked at the brand names. I wouldn't really expect to go more than 50 to 70. And luckily other people stepped up and said, "I have one, I'll lend it to you." You can go to the co-op, you can borrow one for a few dollars. When you're successful with a trap, they don't pick up on weekends. Oh, one of my favorite, just don't feed it. It'll catch mice to eat. Now, I'm not sure what century we're in, but that's an old one, especially if it's somebody's pet that's gotten loose. Many of the comments included referrals to many other rescues in neighboring shelters, and residents shouldn't have to do that. Why burden our local nonprofits and rescues that step up when we're paying for a for-profit animal control service? Told me my 2 options were stop feeding it and hope it goes away, continue feeding it and take ownership of it. This one said Hillsborough PD even had to call them for me to make sure they'd come out to my house because they were initially giving me a hard time. Never returned calls. Got that multiple times, and a few of them mentioned 4 days. Got no return call. The answer I got last year when I needed help rehoming some strays, since I feed them, I own them, and you're responsible for them, they were willing to post their pictures on their Facebook page, which nobody looks at anyway. I did find their page. Had a squirrel trapped in my fireplace. When I called for assistance, Animal Control Solution hung up on me. I called the police for ask for help. They tried to call ACS on my behalf. They hung up on the officer too. He couldn't believe it. Now, okay, I know that that's not something that normally animal control would handle. I've had squirrels in the attic. But the best thing to do is to refer them. I'm sorry, it's not something we handle. You should go to a private company look under, wildlife home in your home or something, and you'll find local referrals. That's what I did. Not cheap, but they do come out. Now, somebody said they don't have a holding facility. Now, I was surprised at that when I checked around. Somebody said it was possibly Long Hill Kennels, and another one said they told them that they used Long Hill Kennels vet. Now, when I looked into that, the best practices in the state of New Jersey from Trenton, and I found that animal shelters and their impoundment facilities must be licensed by the municipal government where they're located by June 30th annually. So I assume the township would know if Long Hill Kennels is a licensed animal shelter and impoundment facility. I haven't been able to confirm that. That would be something that would have to be looked at. Then a lot of them are along similar lines, that they just basically were not helped, were insulted, it didn't reflect well on Hillsborough.
Okay.
So my question was, do we need to tighten up our next animal control RFP? It seems kind of obvious. In the meantime, what do we do to get a better response from our current company to keep our pets safe and protect the health of the residents? Because one is concerned, if the cat is sick, they're refusing to take care of it. I have other animals. I'm not getting a response back for a cat they did pick up. How do I know that my own pets aren't going to catch something from this stray? I can't imagine, but I said, well, do we have to have all requests for service go through the health department so they can be tracked? The problem with that is you need it 24/7. I'm not sure how that would be handled. Do we ask residents using the service to give us some feedback with a brief survey? Was your problem resolved? How? On 1 to 10, how do you rate the response? Additionally, if we're not already doing it, we should be receiving a monthly report from ACS specifying actions taken. Number of calls received, action taken, number of animals picked up, adopted out, euthanized, and the reason they were euthanized, the number of days the recovered animals were held, which is supposed to be 7 days, and where veterinary care and what veterinarian, where do they post their lost and found animals and the deceased pets that they find. I mean, I hate to think any one of us would have a pet deceased on the side of the road and never know because they were just picked up and taken away. There's an old business quote from one of my business professors, and he said, authority goes down, but responsibility goes up. And while the township committee delegates the authority to animal control services to handle our animal control work, the responsibility and expectation to see that the requirements are fulfilled is the job of our township. I kind of hope it can be looked into. I know I already had sent a note to our administrator. I think you got it, Pam. And the health department is aware of it, but I did want to mention it because I'm still getting feedback from this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. Certainly not familiar with the circumstances there, but we will take that under advisement. I know if Anthony and Pam are involved, we'll make sure that we revisit with health and see where they are. I agree with you. We need to make sure that the vendors that we utilize are representing and fulfilling the contracts the way that we expect them to. So thank you for that. Yeah.
But Mayor, if members of the public have concerns, they should email to the mayor or to the health office so we can get an official record, not just through Facebook.
Yeah, correct.
Because that's how we can evaluate the vendors in the future. We need to be told about this.
They should be coming to us. Yeah. Any other comments?
Hi, Michelle Kidd, 602 Boozer Lane. So in the past, I have come up here to request additional copies of the agenda items be present here at the meeting. The township clerk was very accommodating, and as there is now, there is signage in the back that even if those are gone, that more can be present. So I'm asking that I would like to first thank you for that. And then I would also like to ask that in the future, that if the online versions can be put up a little bit earlier so that we can review them in a little bit more detail. I understand that things change at the last minute, but like links to things aren't there, and it's a little hard to kind of find everything. So I'm hoping that that's something that can be done, since clearly that was listened to in the past, and I appreciate that. And then the other item that I wanted to request is that I would like to request that the committee propose an ordinance to extend the phone and online comments that were present during COVID. As someone who's disabled, and this is probably the last meeting that I'm going to be able to attend in person because I'm on immune suppressants, being able to participate is incredibly important to me. And I think there's a lot of other members of our community that can't come in person. And it is not precluded, under the emergency regulation, which was NJAC 539-1, it specifically stated that nothing in the regular regulations prevents a local public body from holding a remote public meeting and allowing public comment. So as such, I'm requesting that at a local level that Hillsborough does what's right and includes that and is inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Maria Janusik, 720 East Freck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey. Also Hillsborough Township property owner, Block 86, Lot 3, 2155 Camp Lane Road. In regard to the property, Block 58, Lot 1.05, there's an ordinance 2019-20 that amends Section 188-106, the I-1, I-2, I-3 light industrial districts. This ordinance was ordered by Judge Thomas C. Miller specifically and solely for Campus Associates, Campus Associates LLC's property, which is Block 58, Lot 1.05. Campus Associates LLC, Weiss, had been a client of Thomas C. Miller, Esquire, prior to his becoming a Superior Court judge. So, and this was in 1999, November of 1999. It was for a conservation easement on the property. So Judge Thomas C. Miller had previously had a attorney-client relationship with Campus Associates LLC. So he should have recused himself because this was the same property and the same owner.
So, Ms. Janusik,
that
I'll cut you off for a sec. While my understanding is the judge does not recall whether or not there may have been a client relationship in order to ensure that there's no appearance of impropriety or a concern around recusal. My understanding is he has recused himself. Is that correct?
He did recuse himself for this decision.
Correct.
Well, he recused himself for this decision, but he was the judge who was involved in the settlement between Campus Associates LLC and Hillsborough. And he's the one that ordered that Hillsborough adopt ordinance 2019-20. So he was in the initial stages involved in the settlement agreement, and there is a record, his signature on the conservation easement, that he was involved in this property. So he should have recused himself before, not what we're talking about now. Now, ordinance 2019-20 is already a part of the Chapter 188, Land Use and Development, Article 5, Districts and Standards, Section 188-106 for the I-1, I-2, and I-3 light industrial districts. It's already a part of this. It's shown here.
It's on the agenda, though.
Excuse me?
That's on the agenda.
I'm talking about something else.
Okay.
I'm talking about the
original ordinance.
Ordinance 2019-20. So under the section 188-106 for the I-1, I-2, and I-3 light industrial districts, there is a section H, multifamily inclusionary overlay district, which shows it was added on 12/10/2019 by ordinance number 2019-20. So that's already a part of the Hillsborough Code. However, after that ordinance, there was another ordinance in regard to this property. It was 2020-01. Again, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement ordinance number 2019-20, the one that's already included there. And this also states it was ordered by Judge Thomas C. Miller. And this amendment to ordinance 2019-20 is not included in the code. So why, if you already have that ordinance included there, why wasn't the amendment to that ordinance also included? And that one states that it was ordered by Judge Thomas C. Miller.
I don't know the answer to that, but we'll certainly look into it.
Okay. So the ordinance for today, as was introduced, states that it's amending the L1, L2, and L3 light industrial districts. That is not accurate. So that was not a proper introduction to the ordinance that's being held public hearing today.
So I'd like to thank you, because I think you pointed this out there, Walt. I think we're all pretty good at what we do. We're not perfect. And there was an error on that, and you're correct. It should be not L, but I, and that's a minor correction that will be handled tonight, I believe. Is that correct, Counselor?
Yes.
Well, if there was no proper introduction because it
Well,
was inaccurate.
but it's not that it's not
it should also-
proper. A typo does not make it improper.
When I was at the planning board meeting last Thursday, July 8th, I brought this up. Mr. Maskey was here, and I said, there is no L1, L2, L3. And I was told there are a lot of light industrial zones, and it was all just flim-flammed, and nothing was stated that this was a typographical error. So this was not a proper introduction, and I think it should be introduced properly as the I1, I2, and I3 zone, and then have the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hello, hi, Roger Koch, 53 Taurus Drive. I'm here to comment on what I heard Committeeman Delcor when he was at the planning board meeting on July 1st. A resident was concerned about who was going to be responsible for paying the legal fees and costs that were imposed by the judge in the campus associates matter. And I believe you counseled them that it wouldn't come out of her tax dollars, that it would come out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. You recall that?
I do.
Okay. So I don't think that's permissible under your own ordinance, that when you were updating the Affordable Housing's local ordinance, that was 2021-06, it has a provision. It says legal or other fees related to litigation, opposing affordable housing sites or related, securing or appealing a judgment from the court are not eligible uses of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So I would like it to maybe look into that and let the public know where the money's really got to come from. Okay?
Thank you. Any other comments on things not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our public hearings. First up is ordinance 2021-12, which is an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 188 Land Use and Development, Article 5 District Standards, Section 188-106, I1, I2, I3 Light Industrial Districts, most notably Section 188-106H, which is entitled Multifamily Inclusionary Overlay District of the Township Code of Hillsborough, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey. Counselor, would you like to, Mr. Willard, did you want to comment on that one?
Sure. With respect to that ordinance, as you've indicated and as was pointed out at the planning board, the title of section 188-106 is actually I1, I2, I3, and not L1, L2, L3, as indicated at the time of the introduction of the ordinance. So we're just making that amendment to the ordinance to reflect the proper title. It's not a substantive change under NJSA 40:49-2.1. It's not a substantive change. It was just something that was a typo, as Ms. Janicek pointed out. So there's no reason why you can't proceed on this ordinance tonight.
Thank you. May I have a motion to open public hearing on ordinance 2021-12?
So moved, Mayor. Deputy Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any discussion from the dais?
I'd like to hear from the public.
From the floor?
Brent Colmer, 144 Taylor Avenue. I came to the planning board committee and I asked the question, which it sounds like you may have to vote on this due to the litigation and settlements that's coming down, which I understand. What I asked the planning board, and I'm going to ask the township here for, is it sounds like there's a lot of haves and we have to, we're being forced to do this and to vote on this and to say yes, which I suppose that you will. But what I really want to know is, what are you going to do after the fact? So there's going to be flooding. We're concerned about the flooding. You know about this. You're well aware of it. And I would love statements that says, we know we have to, but here's what we would like to do. You know, there's a 40-inch pipe or whatever that's in there, and I'm looking for some comment or just some direction that you can give us that's in there.
So on tonight's agenda, we do have item resolution number 17, which is us authorizing Pannoni Associates to provide stormwater management studies. And what this contract authorizes is our township engineer to perform an engineering review of the stormwater management facility design for campus associate development, and including a drainage study of the watershed and associated drainage infrastructure. So I was going to talk about it when we get there, but certainly I know it's an issue. So I know we have some residents here. I'd like to thank, and I know he would have liked to have been here to tell you himself, but I'd like to thank the mayor for his leadership on this one. We did hear you. We recognize that what's happened out with the drainage pipe in particular and some of the surrounding areas, we want to make sure that everything is going to function as it is supposed to. So we have authorized our engineers to conduct that study that will ensure that the drainage system functions as it should.
And can we have commitment that says if it doesn't and you find problems, there's going to be a fix?
Well, I until I know what that is, whether if it's fixable, but certainly the intent of the study is to determine that it either functions or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, we need to understand what is not working properly and then develop a plan to.
Will there be any comments or studies or something to review upon that? Will that be publicly available or commentable?
When the study is completed, of course. Oh, it's all public information.
Do we anticipate that would be done prior to the building upon?
Well, we're authorizing it right away. I don't know how long particularly the study will take, but certainly it will be, I would assume, in conjunction with some of the work that the applicant has to do to initiate their process.
Would it be in any of that study to make a determination from the planning board to approve any future not any development, but
so we don't have jurisdiction to force the planning board to do anything. They're an independent body. Yeah. But I know we have a number of residents from that development here. I think it's important that, we certainly understand your concerns. We want to make sure that what is going to happen out there makes sense and it's not going to further exacerbate an issue, and that the pipe is functioning as it should. So I believe.
And all the drainage problems are fixed. Not just the pipe, but everything.
Well, in that general area that's related to what we're seeing. So that's the study.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Mayor, could I just say
Yeah.
one word? Part of the resolution, it also talks about how this money is coming out of the American Rescue
Yeah.
Plan that was provided. And one of the things I think is very important to note is that because of the budgeting we've done in the past, the money that we use that is coming from the federal government, it's not just going to fill the coffers of the municipality. It's very specific what you can use this for. And one of them is infrastructure, which this falls under. So instead of just plugging a budget deficit or something like that, which we didn't have because of the planning we did many years prior in our budgets, we're able to use this money and put it straight towards doing the study. So I think it's just very interesting that how the money is structured, we're able to use it for that. It's not coming out of, say, our township budget. This is coming out of the American Rescue Plan money that is coming through, and it's set up through the local finance board, so it's very clear what you can use it for, and this is going forward.
Yeah,
So-
and where I was going before, and I didn't get to finish my thought, was, part of what has transpired here is with that funding that has become available, the mayor wanted to prioritize this as a project that could be undertaken under this funding. So it's certainly an area that we think was a priority based upon everything we've heard, both here and myself and the mayor at planning board. And so we want to get this moving, and we have the opportunity to utilize these funds for specific purposes, and this is one of the functions. So this is going to be a priority for us.
I have a question with regards to that. When we actually asked them to do the storm water management study, are they going to do what's known as like a downwater test, or are they going to do it from the river up as well? Because when I was out in that area, I noticed that it's almost like a double threat. They're kind of in the middle of a lull. So you have basically these water basins that were arguably really good when they were built, 30 years ago. But I think as more buildings, they're getting, of course, too much water is coming. But then on the bottom side, I think the rivers, and as we get more storms, I think this is going to be an ongoing issue. So I guess my question would be, will we be able to continue to use this money if there is a problem? The money that
Depends on what the resolution and what the findings are.
Okay.
It's possible.
Will a study go
Certainly,
from both sides?
One
though?
of, infrastructure such as drainage and sewer and things along those lines are part of what we can utilize it for. So depending upon what we find, there is a possibility that some of the funds could be utilized for whatever, if a remediation is needed, how we could do that.
Okay. Pannoni Associates is a national renowned company. If you look them up, like they're big.
So
Like,
you're going to do a bottom up as well as
I imagine they're
down.
going to do the best job possible.
Comprehensive.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Any other comments on 2021-12?
Van, MAHON, 120 Johansson Avenue. Regarding the downstream analysis, there was a comment made, and I'd like to see the analysis start at Brooks Boulevard and continue down to Dukes East. Because what happens is that ditch that runs parallel to Johansson Avenue ends at approximately lot 13 and 14, which on lot 13, my neighbor's lot 14, it overflows. There's a river running between my house and my neighbor's house. You could launch a boat. It's got a current. So I've been told that the detention basin behind campus overflows, which adds to that. So not just downstream from where campus is going to build, but from Brooks Boulevard, because I think development of Brooks Boulevard dumps into behind campus and overflows, and flows down. The river runs between my house and my neighbor's, and then it runs across Johansson and goes out behind the houses on Kimberly to Dukes East.
Okay.
So expand the study.
Appreciate that. Yes, and we'll take a look at that.
Not just from where campus is going to be out to the river. Back it up to Brooks Boulevard.
It's noted, and we'll make sure we talk to the engineers about that. Mhm.
Jonathan Tungeon on 150 Johansson Ave. You may have heard this, but I just want to put it on record. This is absurd. I mean, they're engineers, are supposed to be engineers. We know as a fact, they didn't know it was a C1 waterway that they were building on top of. They called it a swale. So we have no confidence that they know what they're doing. Number two is they said all the water currently, with the trees there, flows into this 42-inch main. It doesn't, because the sewer grades have a foot of dirt on top of them. They did not know that.
John,
So-
just to be clear, you're talking you're talking about Campus Associates, not Pannoni Engineering that
No,
we're hiring.
no.
Okay,
I just want to make,
I just want to make sure when you say
our
they,
concern
you're
is-
talking about campus.
Yes.
Okay.
So campus hired, I think it was Mr. Ford and Van
Okay.
Cliff.
Yep.
And for the beginning of this, when we started to go to the hearings, there was some trust that they knew what they were doing.
Gotcha.
And we lost trust completely. the own Hillsborough Environmental Commission walked the land. And I live at 150, and now I'm scared because they walked around and they know what they're talking about. And they said, this is much worse than we thought. And we have a catch basin, like the one gentleman said, the water, when that overflows, comes flowing down to our houses. If that 42-inch main can't take on water, it becomes a river. Because the sewer basin that can't take it on the street, all that water flows to the same spot, which is this makeshift ditch that no one maintains. It's just a ditch that, it's really an environmental problem anyway, because we get mosquitoes, bugs. If anyone's been back there, it's a disaster. We're relying on that ditch to flow down, like the one gentleman said, so the bottom half of Johansson, that whole bottom part of that complex, if that doesn't flow, like that gentleman just said, going across Johansson, where it should go, if that's blocked, we're underwater. We are completely underwater. I'm just saying, please, this has to be done right, because the next time we're in front of you, if we do get one of these bad storms, it's too late. Now we have to fix it anyway, and now all our houses are not worth anything. Because we've seen it. We live it every time there's a bad storm. And it's not about the affordable housing. It's really about us knowing that we're going to be underwater and they are not. And I really believe this was all about money, And they start talking about a hardship case. Well, this township has the obligation, going back to the state, is talking about a hardship case. We have the hardship case. You're giving us a bad deal just to satisfy a little bit of your affordable housing. And I don't think anybody is against affordable housing. We're against whether you're jamming this affordable housing. So to satisfy the state at a little bit of affordable housing, I think that this town should be fighting this tooth and nail, not saying we have to start calling legislative. You need, as a governing body, to take this on, not let them start. And I hope, because we came in front of this committee, and when they were saying, when you were going to change the zoning, we were concerned. And our concern was, what's going to happen next? And we were told they're going to be held to the highest standard. The highest standard that we're held to. That's not the case. Because they're already now breaking, you're going to change it tonight. They can build on 50 feet of a C1 waterway. Number two, they can build on all their permeable space for the most part, because they're going to put in these drums and pump the water out till those drums don't work. So they are getting away with this using technicalities of affordable housing, and we are all going to be left underwater. So, it's more than just this engineering study, because if the engineering study is done right, I think it's going to be an eye-opener. It's going to take the town a lot of money to fix this. And if you go back in history, when they built our complex, it wasn't done right, and the township spent millions back then to put in this 42-inch main. And when they put it in, it was supposed to be sufficient for just this complex. They built the Stellar Academy. They built another building, and they keep tapping into the 42-inch main. And if anybody walks it and understands the water flow, they can see why we're afraid of what's going to happen. It's not us being, there are just one more people that don't want affordable housing in their back door. We don't want to see our property value go to nothing, because the day the water rushes through our house, and the water's not in our houses, it's going down the street. When the street's flooding, the sides of our houses are flooding, our backyards are flooding. But the day it comes in our houses, we're done. So all we're saying is that I hear about a hardship case one more time from someone who has an endless amount of money to build affordable housing, that they can't do a capacity check on a 42-inch main. That really gets us upset. And that's all I got. I really hope and pray that you do everything you can to not only think of us, that go to those houses and every resident in that community and think about us. We've been living here 30 years plus, most of us, that in this community. We love this community. These people, they don't care about us. And I don't know what one day is a special place for them, because they will come up here, they do not care about our safety. This is not about us looking at the building. This is about safety. Safety. Because when we flood, if someone's elderly and they, God forbid, they can't get out of that complex and nobody can come get them, that's when now who do we come to? We're coming right back here, and then we'll go to the state. But it's too late. Someone got injured. Someone's hurt. So before that time comes, and it's going to come, at least let's try to prevent it. You can't prevent everything, but we know, we are telling you, I'm telling you, this is going to happen if we get one of these 1 in a 100-year storm. And I've seen about 5 of them, and I've been in my house about 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on 2021-12?
Maria Janius, 6720 East Freck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey, also a Hillsborough Township property owner. I'd like to ask, who drafted ordinance 2021-12?
Meaning,
What attorney?
Mr. Bernstein.
Attorney Eric Bernstein drafted this ordinance?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Now, the stipulations in this ordinance regarding the 50-foot buffer for the stream corridor and not having any obligation on the part of the developer regarding the 42-inch pipe, are those requirements of the judge, or is this something that was put in for the township?
As per Judge Shanahan's decision.
Judge Shanahan said both of these, okay. So why is there no record that the Hillsborough Township Planning Board denied this application? There's no resolution memorializing the fact that this application was denied.
Because the resolution was never formalized between the parties before the motion for litigants' rights was filed.
This was denied at the February 25, 2021 meeting. And normally you have, how long does it take to memorialize?
I think the point
a
was,
decision?
because although the decision was taken,
What?
almost immediately thereafter, from a planning board perspective, the applicant initiated litigation against us for that decision. So that essentially preempted us finalizing the resolution. Is that correct, Councilman?
Yes, and the resolution actually happens to be in the possession of the developer's counsel right now.
So there is a resolution?
There is a
Okay.
draft resolution.
Okay, just a minute.
It's not, there's nothing completed, so.
It's
no.
not finalized and it doesn't impact the decision in one way or another.
Okay, now I'm not understanding what you're saying. The attorney for the applicant has the resolution?
Attorney for the applicant has the resolution to review in the same process we use for every applicant.
So normally, how long does it take for that to become part of the record for that
It
property?
depends on how long it takes, as the deputy mayor indicated, before we can finalize the resolution for approval by the board. The applicant, the developer filed the motion, enforce litigants' rights.
Okay, because I have a copy of a docket number for, in the appellate division of the Superior Court. This was in regard to Campus Associates versus Hillsborough, the zoning board of adjustment of the Township of Hillsborough. And so when this went on appeal, there was in here it says that there had been a resolution dated March 26, 2008, of the board denying the application.
Ms.
So
Janusik, as
there
I've told you before at the planning board, the difference between the zoning board situation and this one was that the developer filed a motion for litigants' rights shortly after the governing body and the board denied, when the planning board denied and the governing body did not change the ordinance to give them an as of right situation. Before the resolution was finalized, they filed. They didn't have to wait for the resolution to be approved for them to file the motion in aid of litigants' rights.
So is there a docket number for this appeal?
There is no, you mean the docket number for this case?
Was not,
SOM-L-000-900-15. It's the Township's Mount Laurel docket.
that was the initial, what was that?
That's the initial docket for all the Township's Mount Laurel decisions.
Okay. So when the applicant appealed the denial of their application, there was no new docket number?
So they didn't appeal.
Your Honor, may I?
Yeah.
There was a separate appeal brought by the applicant after the motion for litigants' rights against the planning board, which has ostensibly been mooted by Judge Shanahan's decision enforcing litigants' rights. I don't have the docket number for that on me.
But then, so that was what happened to that? It was,
That case is currently on hold and for all intents and purposes has been mooted out by Judge Shanahan's decision.
okay, because this, in this ordinance, letter I, there shall not be any obligation on the developer of the project to provide a downstream drainage study with respect to the viability of the 42-inch pipe that is located under Dukes Parkway. During the applicant's, during the planning board meetings in regard to this applicant, there's a letter from Echo Sciences, I think it was Mr. Affenord. It was to Mark Policastro Esquire, the chair of Environmental Department of Giordano, Halloran, and Ciesla. And here it states that the applicant should provide hydrologic and hydraulic calculations to confirm that the addition to stormwater flow to the 42-inch pipe will not increase flooding on Johansson Avenue. So why wasn't the applicant held to this, that he should provide hydrologic and hydraulic calculations, and now the township is going to be doing some kind of stormwater calculations? Why isn't the applicant doing it based on this letter that's from Mr. Affenord from Echo Sciences?
Because the board asked, and you were present at the hearings, Ms. Janusik, the board asked the applicant to do the downstream study, and the applicant refused. And the board made it part of their requirements and conditions as to why they denied the application was their failure to do the downstream study. And Judge Shanahan ruled that the board had no authority to mandate the downstream study.
So I want to be clear, Ms. Janusik, we don't necessarily disagree with you that we would have liked to have seen the applicant do that work. And part of and I sit on the planning board, so I'm speaking from a planning board perspective, that we wanted them to conduct that study as part of the application process. They chose not to. They refused, which is one of the reasons for the basis of the denial by the planning board. What then happened is they sued, and the judge agreed that they were correct and did not have to do it. And what the township is now undertaking is we think that needs to be done regardless of whether the applicant does it or not. We would have liked to have them do it, but they chose not to. The judge has ordered that they don't have to, so someone's going to have to do it, and we're going to undertake that study.
Using stimulus funding.
Did the judge give a reason as to why he didn't?
The judge doesn't have to give a reason. He gives an order.
He can just-
The answer is it's in his honor's rather lengthy decision.
It was lengthy.
Because according to, let's see, docket number SOML 900-15, intervener's motion to enforce litigants' rights, this was campus. It says here that the planning board determined that the proposed development was not compliant with the 150-foot buffer requirement and refused to grant a waiver from same, and that apparently was the reason why the application was denied. Since there's no resolution that states what all the reasons were for the denial of the application, this appears to be what was stated as the reason for the denial, and so the judge decided that this was not.
Yeah, but whether there is a resolution or not, there are transcripts and video available of the hearing. So the judge read the transcripts and saw the hearings and made his decision based upon that. The resolution has no bearing on whether or not the judge can make a ruling. The resolution is just a summary of the agreement. It's not a under oath testimony.
Right, but that basically summarizes why the application was denied. So were there other reasons than what's stated here, that the planning board determined that the proposed development was not compliant with the 150-foot buffer requirement?
Well,
Were there other reasons that were provided to the judge as to why the
Yes.
application was denied?
The two reasons that you just stated were provided to the judge.
Which two reasons? I just-
The 150-foot buffer and the 42-inch pipe in the downstream study.
That doesn't say anything in here about the 42-inch pipe.
It says it in his honors decision. We've read it. We
If-
briefed it.
Just Janet, for a second, if you would like a copy of the judge's decision, I suggest you contact the clerk's office, submit a ROPA request, we can get you a copy of the judge's decision.
I submitted an Oprah request, but I haven't gotten it.
Okay.
Okay, because, June 30th, 2021, I had asked for a copy of the resolution. It said, to date, the resolution has not been brought before the board to be memorialized.
But we're not talking about the resolution, we're talking about the judge's order.
Judge's
If you want to see
decision.
the judge's
We'll get you
decision,
the judge's decision.
So, okay.
but the,
so
but the
it's a
resolution has no
resolution.
bearing on that. I want that clear, though.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm. Any other comments?
Mary Ann Sawade, 142 Johansson Avenue. I guess I want to ask you, changed up my, what I was going to say tonight by saying that you are going to do the analysis on the stormwater. I'm glad to hear that. But I was trying to think of like how we got here. Do you know what could have been done differently to approach the affordable housing that, in hindsight is 2020? What could have been done differently? I don't know, I've heard mixed stories that there was no plan. That's why you were sued.
That's false.
Or the plan was insufficient.
Not true.
Not
Okay,
true.
what is the truth?
So we've.
You might have told me before.
Yeah, we've
but
gone
it's a
through it
lot.
many times, but just so, the town, there have been multiple rounds of affordable housing requirements. And the last round, prior to the current one we're in today, the town was fully compliant with its obligations through the court and our court master process. The next round, because we are a court town, that simply means we have to negotiate through our court master and through the court system. We had to implement the plan. As part of that plan, there are multiple parties. There's the township, there are interveners, and the interveners are the people that come forward and say, I can help the town with their affordable housing requirements. Please let me in. And in this case, the judge, we have a court master, and we have fair share housing. All of those are party to the process. And the largest obstacle to getting to a resolution with all of those parties was figuring out, making a final determination and negotiating what our ultimate obligation would be, and then figuring out from the available projects that could meet that obligation, how do we do that? And that's essentially the process. So we worked with Fair Share. Unfortunately, they have a extremely large role in the process for essentially an affordable housing advocacy group. They have, why they have been given such immense power over municipalities, to this day, I still don't understand. But that's, we have to live within the framework that's been laid out by the state. So between the courts, ourselves, and Fair Share, we ultimately had to agree on what the obligation would be and how we would achieve that. And all of the various projects that came forward had to be considered in that process.
Thank you. I'm just wondering how this property we are at this point with this property, knowing its history. How did this property get all the way to the settlement? How did that happen?
Because they were an intervener in the process, and the alternative to having them out was to put the township at risk for significantly more affordable housing than we were talking about, of which theirs was a small portion of it. It was to add to the mayor's comments. The township is basically governed by a decision rendered by the New Jersey Supreme Court in 2015. We filed a declaratory judgment action at the time. We were within months of getting our round 3 approval done through COA, and the appellate division overruled COA rules back in 2008. So on top, we're dealing right now with what should be round 3 and round 4, which covers the period of 1998 through 2025. When Justice Lavecchia rendered her decision in 2015, 300 plus municipalities including Hillsborough, filed a declaratory judgment action. At the time, 7 interveners filed against the township, one of whom was Campus Associates. As the mayor indicated, the major decision of the decision by the Supreme Court was to allow put Fair Share Housing Center at the table for every town in the state that had a declaratory judgment action. There were about 315 that went. The other 250 said, we'll roll the dice. Hillsborough was not in a position to roll the dice for builder's remedy suit, which is, by the way, how Hillsborough got to be a court town in round 2. We got sued. We spent several years negotiating this situation to avoid a possibility of several hundred more affordable housing units, which would have then been several thousand more total units, because it's basically a 28, in Hillsborough was a 24% set aside. It is a few hundred units less than Fair Share wanted us to have. And unfortunately, trust me, unfortunately, Campus Associates was one of those.
And just to expand on that a little bit, the reason that we were not in a position to fight that further was not because we chose not to, or we didn't have a plan. The issue was because of the way our town is essentially situated, where we still have extensive space available for builders. The risk of us being forced to have builders remedy cases as opposed to us dictating and choosing where those developments would be would have been as bad as you may view this to be. That would have been catastrophic, because essentially every available acre that had sewer attached to it would have been, a builder would have said, I can build whatever you want on it, and the judge would have let them do it. And that was not a position from a planning perspective, planning meaning, our planning board, but also planning in terms of what we want to see for the future. That would not have been a prudent decision for us to make. We would have been essentially setting ourselves up for affordable housing at the whim of developers.
No, I understand that. I know you've negotiated, I'm not in the court, so I don't know all the details, but I know there's been, things you've had to make decisions on, and just with campus. So just because they came up and asked.
They didn't know. They didn't ask.
Well, I don't mean
They're
ask.
essentially. This wasn't an ask.
And intervener is essentially a lawsuit, right? That where there's
Were they all approved?
all.
Did you have to
The
approve all of
7
them just
interveners
because
were
they
all-
came forward?
The 7 interveners are all part of the process.
Right, so those are all approved. I did want to say, we've been at this a while, going back and forth. I feel like, our fate was sealed when the settlement agreements were signed. First with the settlement with Campus, that was in April 2019. I first heard about this for the meeting in October 2019. And we all came out, and I feel like looking back that it was a done deal then. I don't know, we talked to you guys and you said, that's up to the planning process. They've got to meet the requirements of the planning board, and they didn't. And we were able to convince you that it wasn't a suitable project, that it would cause harm as it stands, and it's still overturned. That's something just struggling with. It's not right.
I don't disagree. I wish the judge had ruled in our favor, but
Well, I wanted to ask of you, if there's any way to stop this thing. I'm
No.
pretty realistic about it.
not without risk that frankly we can't take.
Does Mr. Weiss have a number that he'd be willing to get out of the contract?
We've
sell
asked,
the property?
and the answer was not a number we've been told. He has no. Folks, I want everybody to understand, this was not a situation that we were exceptionally happy with throughout the entire process. We have raised the issue with Mr. Weiss about the property, about issues with the property, about the sale of the property, about the number of units on the property, and he has dug in. And there is nothing we can do that makes him give us the property.
Or there's not much, there.
Not enough money.
Or we can't essentially contravene the judge's orders without risking the immunity that we've been granted on the rest of our
understand.
township.
I understand.
And that's, that would be very imprudent for us to risk that.
Got it. Well, I'm very glad to hear that you are ordering these tests to be done, this downstream analysis. At least if they can make it so that we maybe even improve the flooding situation in our neighborhood by expanding the pipe or doing whatever they need to do, that would give us some peace.
Well, we need to understand what comes of it first, and then determine
what if it's, we can't fix this? What happens then? Do they still build? Do they still have a right to build?
The fix versus their right to build are two different things. They've shown that they believe that they are not going to cause any more impact. I know you all don't believe it. I don't necessarily disagree. But that's what the testimony is. That's what even our engineer, the board engineer at the time, determined. This study is being done to determine whether or not there is an overall issue that needs to be addressed by the township, whether in conjunction with or separate and apart from this application.
Okay. Thank you for that. I just wanted to add one more thing. Lastly, the decisions involved with the mandated affordable housing requirements, I believe should be discussed in whole and open to the public before settlements are made. I think this could have been maybe a little different if there was more public input before the deals were signed. These decisions affect every single one of us in every way. Thank you.
Thanks.
Lynn Caruso, 103 Taylor Avenue. I've been living in that neighborhood for probably 30 years, went through a couple of floods already. Obviously, we're not going to be able to stop building.
Can you speak into the microphone? I'm sorry.
Can you speak into the
microphone?
So what I would like to know is, clearly we have a flooding problem. Clearly, when they build, it's going to get worse. Clearly, I don't think we're disputing that. I think it would be ridiculous to even have that conversation. We will be engulfed. We will be underwater. We're already underwater without it. We will be underwater when it gets built. This is premeditated. They know this. Premeditated property damage to our homes, premeditated, God forbid, harm to life. I want to know is, can we force them to put a fund aside for us? So when these people's homes get flooded and need to be rebuilt, I want them to pay for their homes. That's what should happen. They should be responsible. We can't be responsible for the act of God. We know it's going to rain. We already know we will get flooded. I want to know if there's something that we can force them to do. If they're so confident in what they're going to do, they should have no problem putting a fund aside, waiting just in case. If it never gets used, good for them, right? They can build interest on it. That's great. If they're confident in what they're doing, maybe they should do something like that. FEMA is rolling out in September a whole new rating structure, a whole different methodology. It's going to cost us probably double in flood rates and premium. Maybe they should pay for that. What do you think? Is there something we can do? Can we do that?
You can inquire of the developer whether or not they're willing to fund such a situation.
Have you ever heard of
There's no legal,
somebody?
there's no
doing-
legal authority for that. There's no.
The township cannot, to follow up on Mr. Willard's comment, township cannot force Mr. Weiss and his company to provide such a fund. That doesn't prevent the homeowners from making their own inquiries.
And forcing them to do something?
Forcing
Asking them to
is
do
a whole
something?
different, forcing is a whole different issue. You can make the inquiry, and whether or not they want to respond. And the reason, ma'am, I was looking around the room was I was wondering whether somebody from Giordano was here. I don't know if they are or they aren't tonight. They tend to come to visit when their situations are. I'll provide the clerk, if she doesn't already have it, the contact individual, Giordano, Halloran and Cecil, Mr. Policastro, and you all can sign a letter and send it to him on behalf of his client and see whether or not they're interested in meeting and whether or not they're interested in providing such a fund.
Have you ever seen that done before?
Have I? No, not nearly 40 years.
Was it ever presented?
It has been presented.
And the reason why it was not done? Do you know?
We don't I hate to use the phrase, but I will, we don't have to.
We don't have to. And they can't be responsible for,
That's a separate issue outside the jurisdiction of this governing body. There are other avenues available, but this governing body cannot in and of itself tell the developer, any developer, not just campus associates, to provide for ostensibly off-track improvements and related items. But that doesn't stop the neighbors from inquiring of the developer separately.
do you have anybody that we could call to help with that?
Well, help is help. We'll provide you with the contact individual. Help you all are going to have to find yourselves.
Thank you.
But
What were you gonna say?
No, I just want to put one thing on the record because I don't want to leave it as open-ended. What we understand, there's historically been a flooding issue, and there's a development that's going in there. But I do want everyone to understand, you may not agree with it, you may not believe it, but the engineering studies and the DEP studies and what the regulations require is that any development, not just this one, any development figures out a way to not make the situation worse. They don't have to make it better, but they're supposed to engineer it so it doesn't get worse. And they have to deal with the stormwater on their property. Now, again, I'm not telling you to believe that, but I can't say that we have had their engineers and the township engineers review, and it meets the DEP requirements as to what will happen with flooding. I can't tell. I'm not an engineer. I can't tell you if the next storm will mean it's going to flood or not.
I don't
But-
think
but
you
I
need
just
to
want-
be an engineer. I think you just need to live there
But-
to see it. And it's just already volatile. It's already there. It's already
Right.
happened.
So,
It's going to happen again. It's
that's a
just
but
amazing that they would build
But-
in a place that already
But
floods.
Lynn, but that's where I want to make sure we separate the historical issue, that already exists versus what may or may not happen as a result of this. If we were confident that it wouldn't make the situation, that it would make the situation worse, that's a completely different issue that we could hang our hat on. But from an engineering perspective, it meets the requirements that it's supposed to. So you can do what you want with that, but I can't leave it as though we know it's going to get worse and we're letting it happen anyway, because that's not from the data that comes forward. That's what we have to go off of. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but I can't leave it to say that we know it's going to get worse.
It's not that I don't want to hear it. I just don't believe it.
I
It just
don't.
doesn't make sense.
And I don't blame you for that,
It
but
just doesn't make, none of it makes sense. Well, thank you.
you're welcome. Thanks for your
Lynn,
comments.
Mayor, could I just say one more
Yeah.
thing? Lynn, you mentioned the rate increases or the potential increases under FEMA, the risk rating 2.0, which is supposed to go in, supposed to be more equitable for everyone. I know they're claiming it's going to be discounts for a large portion because now they're taking a much more holistic approach. It's not just if you live near water, it's a complete overhaul of the
Okay.
FEMA system. But what I would encourage you to do.
In non-flood areas.
It's supposed to
gonna be
reduce it,
worse
yeah.
for those
So-
who are already in
No,
flood areas.
So
you
already,
know?
risk rating 2.0 has already been delayed. I think it's now 18 months. They pushed it back the first time. I would encourage you to do the same thing that I've personally done, reached out to our Congress people on this. I think you were asking for like action item, what else could be done? That's an important one.
Well, it's
'Cause
starting
I know
in
in
September.
April 1st, no, it's October 1st is when the new things, and it's the
Right.
April 1st renewal process for those is
Right.
when it has to go in. But that would absolutely can be delayed because it's been delayed several times. The methodology they've talked about is already suspect in a lot of cases. So I would encourage you to do what I've done and reach out to our Congress people about that. That's a real action item of delaying the implementation of it and questioning why that's going into place. Because I think there's better methodologies that can be used for risk rating 2.0.
I think so.
So I would just throw that out there that I would encourage you to contact. Senator Menendez has been phenomenal on this issue for New Jersey in terms of what he's done with FEMA and flood insurance. So I would strongly encourage you to reach out to his office. They've done yeoman's work on this. So I think they would be very sympathetic ear about how they could make the argument to continue to push 2.0, the risk rating 2.0 down further.
Push it back?
They've been tremendous, honestly. Senator Menendez deserves credit for everything he's done for flood insurance in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Gullis, 128 Johansson Avenue. I'm a transplant to Hillsborough from 10 years ago. I came from Irvington, New Jersey. If you're not familiar with Irvington, New Jersey, look it up, all right? For me, this is not a low-income issue. For me, it's a flooding issue. For my home, my family home, right? First year we were there, I had 20 feet of water in my backyard. 20 feet. When it rains now, it's not that bad, we don't get to 20 feet, but my kids can't play in the backyard because it's like a soppy mush. To piggyback off the gentleman back there, I watched the rocks from his driveway get pushed out from the rainwater because that trough that's behind our home ends there. Why doesn't it go into a drain and actually then out into the river? Who designed that, pardon my French, crappy thing for it to end behind someone's home? If you go to my house right now, look at the driveway, on either side of the driveway, there's a small river coming from my yard, from my backyard, to Johansson Avenue, down Johansson Avenue, across the street at his home, into a drain that obviously can't handle the water that's already there. Stellar Academy, I was told, or I heard today, that they tied into that drain. Then why would there be two 24-inch cement drains from their property draining into the trough behind my house? They're not even tied into the drain. Now, if it's for sewage or a different thing, I don't know. But stormwater, it goes into my backyard. Stellar Academy, stormwater goes into my backyard. I rented a mini hub. I'm a general contractor. Part-time, full-time, I'm a correctional police officer in Essex County, New Jersey. I rented the machine. I went back there because I got a letter in the mail that said it's my responsibility to keep it clean so that way water travels smoothly, correct? I cleaned it out. If you go in the backyard when it rains and you look at those cement drains, there's garbage coming through those drains into my yard again. I'm not cleaning that crap. You can send me as many letters as you want. Fine me as many times as you want. I already spent the $700 on the machine once to clean the thing. The planning board, the zoning board, whoever does the planning board, the engineering, I'm sorry, don't know the proper terminology right now, I'm a little nervous. It stinks. Stinks. It's not fair that we have to now, I'm gonna have to buy flood insurance now? Literally, I live high enough, a little bit high enough where I could unfortunately watch my neighbors have to suffer during floods, and I don't, but I just can't leave. So I get to call out of work, I get to stay home, play in the water, right? It's still not cool. This property is not gonna change anything. It's not gonna make it better. Like you said, they don't have to make it better, they just don't have to make it worse. And based on your engineers or their engineers, why aren't you listening to us? We live there. We see it every day. You've heard us. I know you've heard us over and over for the past 2 years. It's not enough. Why can't the judge's decision be appealed? Why can't it be fought to the very last possible outcome? Maybe some judge above him will say, wait a second, something's really screwed up here. There's a possibility of that. Being in law enforcement and in the justice system, there's a possibility that one rendering can be different and better than the other. Is that not possible? It can, but it seems like you guys are just, let's fold the cards, it's a done deal. There are still options, and it's not fair that you guys are not willing to spend a little bit more money and time and effort to fight it for us till the very end. Seems like when I was here for the planning board meeting, the consensus was we know where this is going, so it's not worth fighting. And we don't agree with that. We pay our taxes, we do what we have to do. We want you guys to fight for us till the very last end. If you want, I'll go in the ring with you. I can take a few punches. All right? I'm not nearly as smart as Mr. Bernstein or Mr. Willard, but living there for the past 10 years, I know a little something about this area. And, as I said at the planning board meeting, one of the best places to live in America. Doesn't feel like that for us, because it feels like we're getting rear-ended with a spiky 2x4 here. It's not fair, all right? Talked about the judge's appeal. As far as the immunity goes, I understand the ramifications of losing that immunity. Really crappy situation. So what I'm asking is, in lieu of going in that direction, couldn't you guys, let's say you lost that immunity and it would cost us whatever financially, couldn't we take some of that money and do what this lady was saying, to put a little fund aside from the township, just in case crap might happen? It's not fair. It's not fair that I might have to get flood insurance now. Last I checked, my neighbor on Kimberly was paying almost $2,600. I mean, I'm on a cop's salary. I'm barely making, scraping 2 pennies together, and now I have to find an extra $3,000 a year because these guys want to build in our backyard. Have you guys, has everyone on the board actually walked through there and saw what it looks like? You can't even get through there without getting mud up to your ankles. But now they want to build a piece of land, a piece of property for people to live there. Again, it's not about the low income. There's only 24 low incomes. And realistically, low income doesn't mean a minority family. It could be a law enforcement officer who's not a minority or is a minority who just started working, but just doesn't make, he qualifies for low income housing, or a teacher, right? That's fair to say, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why can't we just fight a little bit more? As big as this town is, as many people that live here, we don't have any connections. We don't know somebody that knows somebody that can help us along the way. See, I'm not a great poker player, all right? I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm surprised I'm not already a sopping mess up here. It just sucks for my kids, man. It sucks for our kids and their kids moving forward. The 42-inch drain already can't handle what's there. Stellar Academy, I can prove with pictures, they're not tied into that drain. I don't believe that the property they're going to build is going to be tied into that drain. It's going to be tied into that trough that goes behind my house, behind Arcolino's house. Sorry, sir, I don't know everybody in my neighborhood, but everybody on my street is going to get hammered by this thing because they're probably going to do the same crap that Stellar did. That nobody knew about. Just dump the drains and let it go. Now he's going to have a monsoon going through his driveway, not just a river. All I'm asking, I understand you guys already, Mr. Bernstein, you said it over and over and over and over. All I'm asking is to fight a little harder. No, I'm sorry, fight a whole hell of a lot harder. And when that study comes through, go through it with a fine-tooth, have them go through it with a fine-tooth comb. If anything, moving forward, should there be a problem, at least we'll have that study, we'll have this testimony here on record that we were opposed to it, And if something needs to happen legally at that point, it'll be what it'll be. I just don't want you guys up there to just walk out with your tail between your legs and say, yeah, we're over.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, we
Yeah, so I'm
recognize.
bad for words.
No, you've all been at virtually every session, whether it's township committee or planning board. So I don't want you to think we haven't heard what you're saying, and we're trying to figure out the best solution to move forward, which we think is trying to figure out how we remedy the situation rather than continue to, I'll say fight, but that's probably not the right word, this matter, because the reality is we would not expect it would be something winnable. And more than that, if we lost the lawsuit, that's not the end of the world. We could go do that. The risk of the immunity is where the problem comes in. That the problem that we have in your community would be exacerbated all over town because we'd lose control of what building would happen. So rather than risk that, I think the view is that let's try to figure out, let's get some real understanding of what's happening there and figure out if there's a way we can remedy what's existing. Nothing to do with this project. Let's figure out what's happening there today and if there's a way that we can make that better. That's what we're trying to do.
And Mayor, could I just jump on real quick too? I mean, I'm with you. I love a good fight, especially with the Supreme Court, which is probably where this would end up if we continue to appeal, correct? But there's been other municipalities that have been through this. For those who know something called the Highlands Act, which is like the most restrictive piece of legislation in terms of building in the entire state. The town of Oak Ridge did the same thing, Oakland did the same thing, saying we're not going to build in environmentally sensitive areas, which is essentially, if you boil everything down, the planning board said this is environmentally sensitive. This is bad for what they want to do here. All the way to the Supreme Court, Oakland takes it. Judges say we don't really care what the Highlands Act has to say for environmental concerns. None of this matters. It's affordable housing. Essentially denying one of the most precious pieces of land in the state of New Jersey and said, yeah, you can build on it because it's for affordable housing. We've seen other towns go through this. It's not like we don't want the fight because it's not worth the fight. It's that the Supreme Court's made it very clear when it comes to affordable housing, rules don't matter anymore. And it's a shame. This has happened up and down the state of New Jersey time and time again. It's not Republicans, it's Democrats, because we can place the blame at squarely as Brendan Byrne to Whitman to Florio to Christie to Murphy to McGreevy. It's been all of them, right? Corzine, sorry, yeah. Peter Harvey for a day. It's been continuing, and it's a shame. I mean, you go back to Hillsborough, and I've complained about many times here, where part of our affordable housing, which was agreed to in the late 90s, is Kohl's and Lowe's. That was an agreement for affordable housing. I mean, that's just the craziness and nonsense that goes along with affordable housing in this state. It's a shame, and it's disgusting, and I agree with you. But again, we've seen other municipalities go down this road. They get beat. And then at the end of the day, even if we lost this, they'd probably build twice as much on this property. I understand that part. Yeah.
I understand that. I remember that from the beginning. I'm afraid of that too, because it's just going to exacerbate what's already happening there.
I'm with you.
As a general contractor, I'll build them with zero profit. Give me a piece of Hillsborough land, right? I'll get all the stubs together. We'll build you 24 affordable housing units, right? So that way you can fill what you need. Just not there.
And they would still sue as interveners and say, we want to build anyway. Okay. That's the thing. Like the way this is set up in terms for developers is that they almost get the last laugh, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, Mr. Bernstein has been through this, not just in Hillsborough, but these developers, basically, if they raise their hand and said, I can build there, they basically get to. And again, I would encourage you to, we're talking about Hillsborough now, but if you look at other cases, like this Oakland case, you sit there and you're absolutely boggles your mind that this is some of the most pristine land in the state of New Jersey that provides water to almost all of Newark, Irvington, Springfield Ave. That's where they get all their water from, right? And sure enough, it doesn't matter anymore because why you're building affordable housing. It's unconscionable. And not to go back to what the deputy mayor said at the beginning, but that's at least why we're taking the American Recovery Act funds and at least trying to do a study and say, what else can we do? What else can we do? Can we make the situation better? And we're trying, and that I really hope the study comes back and says, you could do X, and hopefully we can use the Recovery Act funds, depending on what the recommendations are, to try to make that situation better, to stop the flooding. I've been down there when you guys flooded in 2011, and you saw the waters, or 2012, I apologize, when the waters were at 20 feet in your backyard.
It was 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
2010, I'm sorry.
2011.
Yeah, okay.
2012.
I'm sorry.
And-
But I mean, to my point, like, I know, I get it, I've seen it. And I mean, there's houses that still aren't rebuilt because of it and empty. So it is not lost on anyone up here. I mean, when we sit in executive session and we are presented with this, and every single person up here has to vote yes, or the judge says, guess what, you're losing your immunity and we're building double on that property. It's crazy. And that's why you sit here sometimes and you read these rulings from the judge, which we all have gotten, we've all read, and you sit there and you go, how are the decks so stacked against any municipality? It's almost the point where, and someone said earlier, we don't want to hear just call your legislator, and I agree. Not just Hillsborough, but everyone's been beating this drum since 1980, saying, or when the Mount Laurel decision was first met, call your legislator. Nothing's been done, and we still sit here and saying, how do we make it better? So I know it's a small part of it to say, yeah, let's use this money to do the study and come back and say, how do we just fix it? Is it maybe, putting bigger swales that go through, or bigger concrete pipes? But that's why we're doing the study. That's why we're doing the study.
Tied into it properly.
And maybe that's the solution.
Maybe that's part of it too. And I'm sure that will be part.
I mean, that is a great point. That's part of the solution. Maybe
But then when
we got to see
the
it.
study comes back and it shows that, wow, it's going to cost $50 million to actually fix this, is the township prepared to fix it?
I'll point to Bound Brook real quick, where if everyone's been in Hillsborough or been around for a long time, you watch what happened in Bound Brook during Hurricane Floyd. You saw that town decimated by flooding. You watched when the motorcycle shop caught on fire and took everything else out, and it burned the whole area down, right? What did they do? They went to the federal government, they went to the state and municipality, they all partnered and they did amazing flood mitigation there. It doesn't flood there anymore, and guess what happens? It floods in your homes now. I mean, that's part of it too. If we really want to start talking about downstream and upstream building, that's all part of it. And yeah, I mean, but this
homes first.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Chris asked, to be fair, sir, Chris asked, what else can we do? What do we do? That's what we start doing. We start looking and saying, if it's $50 million, guess what? We start going and saying, what do we do to fix this? This shouldn't be the end of the discussion, but part of the discussion. What can we do to make things better? And that was my point. I was not saying you need to lose your home, sir. I want to be very clear. Not all of Bound Brook was lost, and now they have great flood mitigation there. Unfortunately, it now backs up into Lost Valley and goes up Dukes Parkway and keeps going up. We all know this. This isn't our first day in Hillsborough, and I know it's not your first day either. But I think I want to partner with everyone to say, what do we start doing? And that's why the study's important. We have to see if the judge is going to force something to be built, let's see what we can do to fix it.
Okay. So just to be clear, because I was confused with one of my neighbors there, whether this study is done and it shows that it's going to cost a crap ton of money or not, they're building. And there's nothing that this study will stop them from building.
So I think that's a more accurate statement. I can't tell you whether they're going to. I would assume they would, but I'm not. But the reality is this will grant them the approval essentially to do that. That's correct.
Well, the study. What I'm saying is, you guys.
The study won't hold up the building. That's correct. We're undertaking this as a measure because we think it's the right thing to do, not because it's going to impact the decision that's made on the building.
I appreciate that, and thank you very much for it. I trust that it will show what we are all saying, that it's my potty mouth language, it's a crappy effing thing, and it shouldn't be happening.
Well,
it's just how do we deal with it afterwards,
Well, I think that we recognize there's obviously some some issues with the way it was constructed or just the size and ability to absorb everything that's coming from there. What this will tell us is where it's coming from, what's causing the water to back up in the way it does, and if there are remediation efforts that we can undertake that will help remedy the situation. That's what we're trying to understand.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
You know, I think this man.
Please state your name and address.
Excuse me?
Oh, Roger Koch, 53 Torres Drive. There's been flooding for years before there was any proposal to build any affordable housing, right in this neighborhood. So it has very little to do with this affordable housing development that they're having flooding. And if that study could have been done, who knows, 10 years ago or whatever, maybe the remediation would have already been completed. But it's mixed up to say, oh, this is an affordable housing problem because the developer wants to build. And like you said, every expert on both sides said that this development is not, predicted to worsen anything with respect to the flooding. And the study, and hopefully what you do with the study to correct this, that will be probably the biggest thing the town can do to solve the flooding problem. So, and I think you're on the right track, but I don't think we should.
Thank you for your agreement. Appreciate it.
I don't think you should mix it up with
to be clear, I segregated the two. I said
Okay.
this has not. There's a historical problem,
Right.
and then there's the and this
Okay,
is
but
this
good.
is
So that's what we should focus on, that solve the historical problem, and that's what you can do. There's no judge telling you can't do that. And if you do that, I bet you there'll be a big change, hopefully, for this flooding, because it doesn't make sense. There could be nothing could be done. That as some place floods, you don't have adequate drainage in some way or the other. So, you should be able to figure out. They got enough engineers that said that the development won't do any harm. So we need some engineers to figure out how to just solve the drainage problem. I hope you find the right engineers. Thank you.
Green Comer, 144 Taylor. Just procedurally, this vote then gives them the affordance to now build? Or does it go back to the planning board for final approval?
It gives them the right to come back to the planning board without having to seek waivers or variances. It's what we call an as of right application.
So what we were saying before was essentially the planning board denied it on these 2 points, right? So they have the right now to come back, and essentially we can't use those two as waivers to say that because you need these waivers, we're going to deny it. So they still have to come back and seek the final approval, but that won't be, those two items cannot be the basis for a denial.
Can any other denials be?
If there were other isures that.
I really don't want to leave anybody with the impressions, because God knows I'll hear about it, even in Irvington, where I'm the planning and zoning board attorney.
That's why I've asked.
Folks.
I'll never say never, but it's unlikely.
He'll never say never. I will tell you what this is, as I said, is an as-of-right application. Ostensibly, it's an application that comes in that meets all the criteria, doesn't require a waiver, doesn't require a variance, should be approved. And I will tell you all, and I'll tell this to the planning board, so the deputy mayor is not surprised by this comment. Planning board turns it down this time, there isn't a check big enough to pay for how that's going to come out. Forget me.
Understood. Just wanted
to. Yeah. Thank you.
Good question.
Maria Janius, 6720 East Freck Avenue. Has this applicant received all of their submitted applications to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection?
We're not responsible
And have
for
they
that,
received?
Janice. That's planning board issue. I
It's
have
a
no
planning
idea.
board.
And any planning board application, whether it's Campus Associates or the gentleman's own building when he wants to build his housing units as a general contractor, are conditioned upon approval of all the various federal, county, state agencies. Any approval from this board will come with the same conditions. If for some reason DEP doesn't approve it, they can't build it no matter whether they have an approval from us or not. But they've been led to believe DEP is going to approve it.
So does the planning board have to get all of those permits?
No.
Know that those permits were given before
No,
this goes?
it's a condition of approval that they must meet all the conditions, one of which is DEP. And that's standard. I don't want anyone to think that this is somehow special for campus. This is standard for every application that comes before the planning board, is a condition that they are required to meet all the conditions of the applicable agency, whether it's soil conservation, DEP, the county planning board, whomever. And if they don't have all those conditions, the building department is not supposed to grant them the permits to start doing construction.
Correct.
That's what the check is back there. Engineering and building are not allowed to give them the approvals until they have proof that they've met all the conditions. So they don't have to have DEP approval when they come back. They may. They're in a hurry to get this thing dealt with. So they may have them, but even if they don't have them, the planning board can't say, well, we're not going to approve your application unless you have them. It's a condition of approval.
Okay, so they can get approval and then what? They can start building before?
No, they
permits?
can't start.
As we just said, it's a condition of approval before they start to build that they need those approvals.
Okay, and so who has to see that those conditions were met? The planning board?
No, building and engineering.
Building and engineering, okay. Does this applicant also have to get any kind of federal permits or
It's the same,
approvals?
it's the same issue. It's all.
I don't know if they need federal permits. I don't think there's any federal impacts, but if they have to, they're required to do it.
And so who has to see that is fulfilled?
Same thing.
Same group.
Who?
Building and engineering.
Building and engineering?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hi.
Christy Garcia, 166 Johansson. I just
Can you
have
spell your,
Yeah,
we
I'm
can
sorry.
barely hear you, ma'am.
Sorry.
Yeah, just-
Christy Garcia, 166 Johansson.
Thank you.
I have several questions about affordable housing and their control. How do I get information? Is there someone I can email and ask these questions to? Because I don't want to do it now.
You can make your inquiries, I would suggest, through the clerk. She can contact the administrative agent for the township handling affordable housing.
You?
Correct.
Can I have your email?
It's on the website. P-Borek at P as in Pam, B as in boy, O-R-E-K at Hillsborough Dash.
Thank you.
Richard Mann, 120 Johansson Avenue. I've been living there for 45 years. I've seen Kimberly and Dukes Parkway flood many times. We can't get out when it floods. I don't know in those 45 years that we've ever need the fire department or emergency medical services. We haven't yet. We may someday. It hasn't flooded since Irene in 2011. Is there a plan to get us fire department or emergency medical service if we're flooded in? Thank you.
I know there is, but we will, I can cover, I can't tell you what the plan is off the top of my head, but there certainly is a
I
plan.
don't think any of us have ever heard about it.
So, Mayor, just as an aside, during Irene, my wife had me pregnant with twins. And I was not elected at the time, and I had a similar inquiry about what happens because, as Hillsborough knows, you turn into an island. And I very nicely emailed emergency services, and at the time they said they had purchased I guess they call it a deuce truck, right? It's the big trucks that can go through, and that's how they plan to drive over the bridge into Somerville or down towards Mercer to get people in and out. So I know that's not the best answer, but I know there is a plan because I literally discussed it. Again, that was 10 years ago now, but they do have a plan in place.
Anyone else? Come on, Susan. Let's go. All All right. Don't be shy, people. Come on. It's getting late and everywhere.
I know. It was important to you.
Okay.
First, just briefly. In 2020.
Name.
Merrill Bisberg, 4 Hickory Hill Road. In 2020, when the plan was, the overall settlement was agreed to, was that not an opportunity to go back and modify the agreement with this developer to find another home for
Mayor.
those 23 units?
This would be the
Mayor.
intervener conversation we've had.
Mayor, may I? We have had this conversation, ma'am, for the last 6 years. We had this conversation a few weeks before the planning board came to its final conclusion. We have been having conversations with this developer and every other developer who wants to build affordable housing in town to try to deal with the situation. The fact that we have these conversations doesn't mean they want to participate or they want to go along with it. I don't want the public to have some belief that this was a static document and once we took care of fill in the blank intervener, it was static going beyond. It is still not static now.
Yeah, but to be clear, Merrill, I think your question that we've had, it relates to the same thing we've talked about multiple times. From a standpoint of this project and this developer, yes, they were an intervener and we had to deal with them in the way that we had to deal with everyone else. So there were, 4 years of discussions that to try to get to a resolution that made sense.
But I guess the resolution was in May 2019, because it appears that since then, any attempt, discussions in the planning board, with the community, the memorializing of the settlement, there was no opportunities to go back. I mean, because
I think the planning board denied it, right?
2019, this is all.
Look, first of all, go back, ma'am. We keep going back to these people. We keep having conversations with this developer and others. This is not, once we took care of it, we walked away from it. We have had conversations with this developer subsequent to the settlement agreement, hearing the residents, hearing the planning board. I have been probably at every meeting this governing body has had regarding this application and others. I have had numerous conversations with counsel for the applicant. I have had conversations with counsel for the applicant. We have had conversations with the intervention of the special court master. We have had conversations with the court. Can't make people do what they don't want to do, and this developer is locked into this development. And we've tried.
And the planning board denied it.
And the planning board denied it, and
we
the
got
answer,
sued.
and the answer was, we got sued. And by the way, for more than just the development. And so that everybody understands, not only did they sue, they were joined by Fair Share Housing Center looking to strike our immunity. Because we weren't building our 23-unit obligation, even though we said in our papers that we would find another place to build the affordable housing. And the answer from Fair Share Housing was, no. And we want your immunity taken.
Okay, so it seems that if this really couldn't be changed after May 2019, we have several other interveners. Are we going to find out as a community, where these deals are made already? I mean,
These deals,
it's a major problem.
these agreements, ma'am, and you've been at a lot of meetings,
Yes, I
have
have.
all been at the public committee meetings when they were finalized with all the interveners and with Fair Share Housing. It's not like we came up with this and.
Yeah, but I want to be, Merrill, I mean, with all due respect, you have been at virtually every township committee or planning board meeting for the last 4 years. So if your premise is that there were not changes to things, or that we did not negotiate things, or that things did not change, I'm not sure where that's coming from. And frankly, I'm not sure what you're asking me at this point. But the reality is, there has to be a point where there are negotiations that are undertaken, And when they're solidified enough that we have something to put down on paper, it becomes public and we get public input. I'm not sure if there's something else you're asking
Well,
there.
no, I have been to a lot of meetings, but honestly, the first meeting I came to on this was in October 2019, when the community was there. I didn't know this had already been discussed in May. Now, if you go back and you look at the town record, yes, there was an executive session where it was discussed, and yes, the TC came back and voted on it. But I don't really understand why developments, that affect a lot of people have to be discussed in executive session.
Because it's ongoing litigation.
Because it's
and that's
litigation
why.
that's being negotiated. Frankly, there are things that just, if the intent is to negotiate every document publicly, we would have been stripped of our immunity years ago because nothing would be done at this point.
But development shouldn't be decided in secret, whether it's, I'm not talking about the litigation now. This is the whole thing about separating.
But there's
affordable housing.
two things.
This was all
But there's two
litigation.
parts. All that happens at the township committee is that it's identified and there's a zoning implication to that. The application process is no different than any other application that goes through planning board. No different.
I got a question with regards to that, Frank. As I understand it, didn't this go about like in 2008 or 2010 when he originally canvassed? This is not his first time coming up.
No, he went
We
to,
shut him
there was
down.
a zoning board of application and that was denied.
And that was a
that was
decade and a half ago. So he's always been
14 years
waiting.
ago.
And then when he had an opportunity
Yep.
to jump on.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
He used that as an excuse, as I understand.
That's correct.
I would say, committeeman, you couldn't have hit it better if you tried.
Well, I'm not saying.
I didn't say
think
we
we could've
agree
been-
with it.
I know, but thank you for that. But I just feel a little sad that we weren't a little more prepared in the sense that we knew this was lingering around. And if we knew that that was wet grounds, maybe we could have been, and with regards
And
to.
do what, committeeman?
I think we should have did the flood analysis maybe a decade ago. I think something like, it's two separate entities now because I think the town is growing. 206 got expanded. When you start making bigger roads, you're going to have more drainage issues. So I think we're combining two. And I know you did separate it, which I did hear you say. I still think we didn't do the proper plan for the residents. And I think I'm happy that it's a consent item now. I believe where we're actually going to do the study. I think we just got to, we got to solve the issue of the flooding, and I get, I hope that makes sense. I don't want to beat a dead horse.
But I want.
That's why the settlement agreement was voted in a bipartisan manner, number one. This was, the whole committee voted for this in a bipartisan way originally. But to be clear, no one wants to build more. Nobody. And this was litigation. It's all been litigation to the point. It's nothing but litigation.
Can I put one more thing on the record, Your Honor? I want this clear for the record, since everybody likes to make the record clear. The denial by the zoning board of the application by the contract purchaser for this had absolutely, positively nothing to do with flooding at all. It was denied because the neighbors came out and didn't want an all-affordable housing project approved. I believe the congregation that borders the property also came out. There were a number of issues having nothing whatsoever to do with flooding, because the zoning board doesn't get usually involved in the issue of flooding. And they went to the zoning board because they were looking for a variance for the then zoning. They never came to the planning board because my office has been planning board attorney for the last 20 plus years. They never came to the planning board. If they had come to the planning board, a lot of the issues that are coming up today may have been dealt with 11 years ago, but that was not what was before the zoning board at the time.
Well, the residents brought that rejection at that October 2019 meeting.
It's not that we weren't aware of it.
Yeah.
But it's separate
And I
approval
believe it was
process.
environmental. Now, maybe it was environmental as a ruse to the fact that they didn't want affordable housing, but it doesn't matter. That, there were environmental reasons that it was rejected, and that's why they repeated that.
We were aware throughout the process of the issue of the property. I can't go into discussions about it because it's litigation related, but I will tell you, it was a discussion more than once, with or without the zoning board to know.
But we all knew that there was a zoning board process. I mean, that was not a secret. But the applicant, the owner of the property, as Committeeman Wright noted, had the opportunity because of our affordable housing requirements, became an intervener, and that's where the process was reignited. We can't stop him from seeking to do something with his property. And as a result, this is where we are.
So I believe that one of the as-is provisions is that there's no requirement to do anything about tree removal in terms of replacing trees. And in an effort to kind of keep this neighborhood whole, is there something, I mean, for whatever reason, at this point, that this is going to go forward? So we already know that we lost out because now this is as is. Is there some commitment to do something about the trees? Is this something that could be negotiated?
Maybe, but that's the negotiation that's going to happen at planning, not here.
Trees in what regard? Planting more?
Yeah,
Understand, again, not the happiness of this township committee or the planning board, but the courts of this state have determined that tree removal and tree mitigation is something that can't exist on an inclusionary development.
but I believe until this happened a couple of weeks ago, they were going to replant trees.
They're going to plant some trees
Are
on,
they still going to do that?
their application, I don't believe has changed any. But in terms of significant numbers and the like, no, they're going to do what their requirements are. They're not going to pay to the tree mitigation fund because they're not required to pay to the tree mitigation fund because they're an inclusionary housing development. And that's the court's happy. That, by the way, it's not Judge Shanahan. That's a number of appellate division and Supreme Court decisions.
Back to the flooding per se. If,
Merrill, can you speak into the
I'm
mic a
sorry.
little bit? Thanks.
I think you said before, Mr. Delcourt, that the applicant has, for better or worse, successfully proved that they will not make the flooding worse than it already is.
No, I didn't. So from an engineering standpoint, that's correct. I can't tell you whether that's true or
So
not.
it does seem like the flooding issue is really the townships to deal with. I kind of agree with Mr. Wright that we probably should have been looking at this. And I guess I was up here 3 weeks ago at this very mic asking about where money for the American Rescue Plan was going to go because it wasn't in the budget. And it suddenly appeared available now to do this study. I think we could have committed to doing this study
Well,
perhaps.
to be fair, we only found out what we were able to use the money for about a week and a half ago.
Okay, so understanding that now, if mitigation has to be done and it's in the millions and not the tens or the 20s of millions, is there available money in the rescue plan to put whatever is needed to whatever amount can be done toward remediation for this neighborhood?
Depending upon what is the chosen remedy here or what comes out of the report, there may be opportunities for us to utilize some of that money, but without knowing what it would take, I can't answer that. I think so, but we'll find out soon enough.
Okay. So is that a commitment that the body is willing to make, that if there are more funds available, either through the rescue plan or through the budget with, there's surplus.
Merrill, you know we can't make commitments without a process. I mean, but I think I would hope that from what we've talked about tonight, the fact that we're undertaking this process and trying to figure out what the remedy is, I think there's certainly an inclination for us to figure out a way to make meaningful improvements there. How that will happen and how it gets funded is something I can't give you an answer to today.
Thanks, Merrill.
Susan, come on. With all due respect, it's come on up. You can.
Hi. Susan Gulliford, Hunt Club Road. I have two questions. I want to follow up on a comment Mr. Bernstein made earlier. Obviously, Mr. Weiss doesn't care about the people around him who are already there. He doesn't care about the 96 innocent families that he's going to move into his development, his own tenants. But the question came up earlier about purchasing that property by a person, by Green Acres, by the township. You said Mr. Weiss is not interested in selling. Okay, that part. If he were interested, would that be allowed by the court because of our affordable housing settlement, or would we lose our immunity if he sold it for Green Acres?
Just like everything else, it'd be a negotiation. We'd have to sit down again with the judge and the court and affordable housing and figure out something else that would work. But
Leaving out, Susan, before somebody reports that we're now about to purchase the property, because God knows, I figured before we're out of here tonight, somebody will report that. If by some chance in the future, we could somehow either acquire the property or somebody else could acquire the property or whatever the obligation, we would still have to make up the shortfall.
Okay.
And
somewhere else in town as to the affordable housing.
But I wish it was that simple, but it's not. So.
Can't even trade him another piece of property.
We would have to make it up, and the courts and affordable housing would have to agree that our makeup plan was suitable.
Okay, so it wouldn't be just selling the property, but also providing an alternative.
Buying the property. If, again,
yes. Okay.
Under your hypothetical, and I underline the word hypothetical before anybody leaves here and says, oh my God, they're about to purchase the property. If under your hypothetical, somehow the property was not built for whatever reason, the township would have an obligation to meet the shortfall of the units it will not have built on this site. It would require Fair Share Housing's approval, the special court master's approval, and ultimately the judge's approval, whichever judge that would be.
So we can't just swap it out and say we'll put 24 somewhere else and do it unilaterally.
Okay, well,
It would
one
be
of the
great if we
reasons I'm
could, but
asking
we
was
can't.
not only because of your comment earlier that Mr. Weiss did not want to sell, but this week somebody actually asked me, well, why don't we just buy it for Green Acres? I was like, I don't think it's that easy, but.
I can't state this for an absolute surety, but I don't believe the governing body can use Green Acres Fund to buy property to avoid affordable housing.
Or to prevent.
Because if that were the case, I'd have towns all over the state of New Jersey putting up parkland all over town to avoid affordable housing. I don't see it happening if we, as I said, there are too many moving parts to that issue if we ever got to that point
And
to
the
tell
other-
everybody that it would happen.
Okay, the second thing was the previous discussion on NJDEP. You said they're assuming they've got their approvals already.
They've applied for, they've applied
They
for.
will need their approvals.
But
We're not
they seem to
assuming they have
consider
them.
it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Is there anything that the residents can do to approach DEP to comment, to oppose it? Is there anything they can do at the state level with NJDEP to carry forward their objections?
Well, so to be clear, part of what we were fighting was this 150-foot buffer issue. The reason that the 50 is where we end up is because that's really the DEP requirement. We were more restrictive than what the DEP required. So if there's an understanding that you can get them to reconsider based upon, public pressure, by all means, that is certainly at your disposal. But
What if they could prove the 50 feet was still a bad deal, still didn't work under DEP regulations?
DEP says 50 feet.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean-
So if they went to the 50 feet and said, it's still not working, I mean, we've gone from 150 to
Look,
50, what if 50 doesn't work?
I won't ever discount what the value that public pressure could put, but, they have those regulations for a reason. But if you or anyone here wants to go, try to influence DEP, by all means, that is at your disposal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? We're still on our first public hearing. Okay, so with no other discussion, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Roll
Mayor,
call.
Deputy Mayor, it's close and adopt.
Close, and so can I have a close and adopt?
And I have.
Can I confirm the motion?
I'll still make that motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the correction.
And the adoption is with the understanding that the title is being modified to reflect it instead of, as it originally introduced, it said L1, L2, L3. It's actually I1, I2, I3, but there's nothing substantive being changed. If you take a look at the ordinance, the only thing we're doing is adding 2 sections, a paragraph H and I. So there's nothing substantive, so that would be the motion.
Thank you. So just to confirm, can I have a motion to close the public hearing and adopt as with the clarification noted by Mr. Willard?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Committeewoman Erickson.
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes, with the provision that I'm only voting for this because there is not only did we do this at executive session saying we had to, but we have a court order saying that if you don't, the township faces severe ramifications.
Committeeman Wright.
I'd like to make a statement before I cast my vote. I think it was Susan who was the first one who stated, how did we get here? I know I'm one of the newer committee people, and I know fair share housing and all of this is really complicated. I say all that to say that I understand that this came before us many, many years before. I'm still wrapping my hands around how they were able to be part of the 7 intermediaries, meaning this was something that we'd already denied in the past, and I think it was because they didn't own the property at first.
They owned it.
They owned it, but they. Okay. Oh, okay. They filed. Okay. So because
That's what I wrote on the piece of paper,
Yeah.
the committeeman.
All right.
They
So-
filed as an intervener. That's how they got to be one.
Okay. So now that automatically kind of handcuffed us to this deal, as I understand it.
It handcuffed us dealing with them.
Okay.
And the deal came after.
Now, my question is, was that because we were not compliant at that time?
No.
The round was just undertaken, and so the interveners came forward saying that you, just like every other municipality, will need to put a plan in place,
Okay.
and I want to be part of your plan.
So did we have that plan in place is my question.
No, we were not.
No.
Let's
So do we
go.
miss a
because-
timeline?
May I?
Yeah.
Sure.
Affordable Housing History 101. After 1998, for the next 10 years, the courts, mostly through Fair Share Housing and COA, litigated what the rules were going to be for round 3. And the appellate division at least twice, and Mr. Thompson can correct me from his own knowledge, at least twice and maybe 3 times, turned down COA's rules as to what was going to be the requirements for round 3. It went around, we actually had a plan. And we were told the plan was not compliant because the rules that we had the plan that was compliant with were then rendered invalid by the courts. And this continued to go around and around, and COA tried to meet, and Governor Christie had issues with COA, and there were issues with Fair Share in the courts in COA, and ultimately what happened in 2015 with everybody's plan, not just Hillsborough's, everybody's plan in limbo for now 17 years, the Supreme Court of the state of New Jersey said enough is enough. We are going to take control of this process in the cases In Re, NJAC 5:96 and 5:97. And the court said, you have, and I'm going from memory, 90 days to submit a declaratory judgment application to the court to seek protection for the purposes of moving towards a compliant plan in accordance with the rules established by the court, which was all supposed to be done, by the way, in 6 months.
Okay.
5 years ago. and still isn't finished. So when we filed our declaratory judgment, which is, the site I gave Mrs. Janicek, 7 interveners joined the process. They were one. There were other projects in town who were also interveners. By the decision of the Supreme Court, Fair Share Housing Center became an automatic party to everyone's application, not just Hillsborough's. And ultimately, even if I'll go you one step further. Even if we had come to a settlement with all 7 interveners and Fair Share wasn't happy, we'd be fighting with Fair Share. Fair Share was not obligated to accept our settlement agreements, even though they were parties to the settlement, without them agreeing not to have us build several hundred more units than they wanted us to build in the first
And
place.
at first, they didn't agree, and we
That's-
had to bring them kicking and screaming.
Just to be crystal clear though, for Mr. Wright, so he could wrap his hands around this, we've been under a special court master since the late 90s.
We have been under a special court master for the last at least 22 years.
So
We go back to round 2 to have a court master. We had Betsy McKenzie until Betsy retired, and now it's Elizabeth McManus. But we have been a court town since the late 90s, since the late 90s.
So if we missed a single deadline, which we didn't,
Nope.
or if we were not compliant, which we were the entire time,
Yep.
any single developer could have came before us or just went to the special court master and essentially we'd have to start building. They could basically get what they wanted at that point because she would deem us not. I know there's a process to go through.
Prior to 2015, when the court said the rules were no longer builder's remedy first, settle second. The rules now are the filing of immunity, which is why we want immunity, was to ensure that we would not be potentially subject to being South Brunswick, Englewood Cliffs, which is one of my clients now, and Wayne, who lost their immunity and are now having projects basically shoved down their throats.
But I think it's important to understand is that we've been under a court master this entire time, watching us. Since 2018.
And by the way, that is what.
1998.
1998, okay.
Committee, and by the way, that is what both Campus and Fair Share Housing sought, was to strip our immunity and make us a builder's remedy town again. So, which Judge Shanahan said, no. Thankfully.
Thank God.
I'm going to abstain for my vote.
Deputy Mayor Delacour.
Look, the reality is we've talked a ton today that unfortunately we have to move forward with the changes that are outlined in this ordinance. The judge made it very clear what our path needs to be, or the ramifications of us not proceeding. While I wish I could sit up here and vote no or abstain, that's highly irresponsible given what we know is happening. So with reluctance, I will vote yes because we have no other alternative.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. We're going to move to ordinance 2021-13, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 92 Police Department, Article 2, Establishment and Organization, Section 92-7, Membership of the Code of the Township of Hillsborough, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, to increase the not-to-exceed amount of the police department membership. This ordinance will increase the number of patrolmen that are permissible within the department. May I have a motion to open the public hearing and on ordinance 2021-13?
So move, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any discussion from the dais?
Mayor, just that you mentioned this at the last meeting, but as we were going through, and obviously township is growing, we wanted to make sure that the ordinance reflected how many patrolmen we wanted to go up to. This does not mean we're going to have 45 patrolmen. It just gives us the ability to hire them as we have people retiring and have the overlap so that we are never down officers for the township.
Anything else from the dais? Any comments from the floor?
Maria Janusik, 720 East Freck Avenue. Under this, it's 2021. How many corporals are there?
It's defined under the collective bargaining agreement.
What?
It's defined under the collective bargaining agreement. I believe we're at.
Which means what?
It means we have a collective bargaining agreement, which dictates how many corporals there are, which I believe we're at 4, or is it 6? Or
This
it's
has
6.
nothing to do with titles. It just simply gives us the maximum number of people that can be allowed in the department.
I understand what you're saying, so I don't understand why it's defined under the collective bargaining agreement. How
Because
many-
the
how
number
many
of
are there?
corporals is negotiated with the police department, with the PBA.
Okay, and how many are there currently?
6.
How many?
6.
6, okay, so then they can have opportunities to advance to sergeant and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else on the floor?
Chris Golis, 128 Johansson Avenue. I'm not exactly sure what it is you guys are talking about, but if it's for law enforcement, we need more.
That's what
That's what we're
A lot
doing.
more.
That's what we're adding.
Thank you.
We're adding people. We agree with you 100%.
Good night.
Good night, Chris.
Can you tell us what we have currently?
A lot more.
I'm sorry,
50
Meryl,
people
name and
say they
address
need-
for the
we need
record, please. I'm sorry.
Mayor Office for
Thank
Hickory Hill Road.
I think we have 55.
54
The-
as of right now.
Yeah, the issue will be, we have a number of people that are retiring that will be on roll for a bit still. But we need to bring on new people because we want them on before we let the others get off roll. So we're going to be, even though I think we're hiring 5 at this point.
6
6.
next month.
That will be, eventually they will be offset by people that are coming off.
Okay.
Any other comments from the floor? Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
I need a motion
No, I'm
to
sorry,
adopt.
I'll make that motion to
Close and
close and
adopt.
adopt.
Yeah. sorry.
I'm sorry, who's making that?
I'll make the motion to close and adopt. He's seconded.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson?
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson?
Yes.
Committeeman Wright?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delcor?
Yes. All right, we're going to move to introduction of new ordinances. First up is 2021-14, an ordinance amending Chapter 1, which is general provisions, Article 2, penalties, and Chapter 224, peace and good order, Article 1, preservation of public peace and good order, and Article 2, disorderly persons of the Code of the Township of Hillsborough, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey. Further consideration of this ordinance and public hearing will be held on August 10th, 2021. May I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments from the dais? From the floor?
I don't think we need comments, right?
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson?
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson?
Yes.
Committeeman Wright?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delcor?
Yes. 2021 dash,
No, you don't have to, and the next two you don't need. to.
yeah. 2021-15, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of property in and by the Township of Hillsborough, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, appropriating $14,100,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $13,395,000 bonds or notes to the township to finance part of the cost thereof. Further consideration of the public hearing will be held on August 10th, 2021. We have a motion to introduce.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman
Committeewoman Erickson,
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson,
Yes.
Committeeman Wright,
Yes.
and Deputy Mayor Delacorte.
Yes. We also have ordinance 2021-16, an ordinance authorizing the Township of Hillsborough to purchase the property identified on the Hillsborough tax maps as Block 198, Lot 2, Block 198.02, Lot 1.01, Block 199.02, Lot 1, and Block 198.01, Lot 1, located at Hamilton Road and Amwell Road, Hillsborough, New Jersey. Further consideration of this ordinance and public hearing will be held on August the 10th of 2021. May I have a motion to introduce?
So moved, Mayor. I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson,
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson,
Yes.
Committeeman Wright,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delacorte.
Yes, and 2021-17 is an ordinance authorizing acceptance of deeds of dedication for widening and improvement of Falcon Road, Hillsborough Township, Somerset County, New Jersey. Further consideration and a public hearing will be held on August 10th, 2021. May I have a motion to
I'll make a
introduce?
Second.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson,
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson, Committeeman Thompson,
Yes.
Committeeman Wright,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delacorte.
Yes. All right, that does it for ordinances. We're going to move to the consent agenda. We have items 1 through 18. Is there anyone wishing to take any of these resolutions separately?
Mayor, with regards to that 17, we spoke about that earlier. Are we going to do the up study and down study with that? Is that something we have to discuss, or is that?
I don't know how it was specifically laid out in the proposal.
Okay.
But I think we will look to make sure that it is a comprehensive study.
Great, thank you.
Any other items? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments from the dais? Comments from the floor?
Grant Culmer, 144 Taylor, just thank you. I just want to say publicly thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anything else from the floor? Okay, roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson,
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes.
Committeeman Wright,
Yes.
and Deputy Mayor Delacorte.
Yes. And finally, claims list 2021-12. May I have a motion to approve that claims list?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please, I guess. right?
Committeewoman Erickson,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Do I need to go to the
Just
floor? Comments from the dais?
No.
From the floor? Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson. Yes. Committeeman Thompson,
Yes.
Committeeman Wright,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delacorte.
Yes. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you for that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. This concludes our regular meeting. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, August the 10th at 7:30 PM. Good night.
Hillsborough, New Jersey, celebrating 250 years of a rich history. Hi, I'm Mayor Sean Lapani, and I'm proud to showcase Hillsborough, one of the best places to live in America. From the preserved farms that help feed the world, to the Vanderveer House, to the John R. Stott's house, restored and currently utilized for business, to the magnificent and world-famous Duke Farms, where you can walk or ride a bike through their historic grounds, to the iconic Neshannock Reformed Church, and just down the road is our fabulous Neshannock Mill, located right on the picturesque Raritan River. You're invited to visit Hillsborough, a great place to live, work, play, and do business anytime. And experience over 250 years of proud history in Hillsborough, New Jersey.